And we're here, people. We're back. It's the Talkin TV duo. Halfway point between critics and commentators. I'm just going to roll off with that because I just had to get that out of the way before it got super awkward. Chris, we finally made it. After like 2 weeks of seemingly where the internet was like out to slit our throats, we're actually back to give them, hopefully, yes and no, the watch-along to end all watch-alongs.
I hope we don't end all watch-alongs.
Well, no, but you know what I mean.
It's
just a phrase that
parts of doing
say.
this show,
Come on, stop taking everything that I say so seriously. Anyway,
so
Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I definitely had a bit of a scare here right before we got on because I live at the top of a mountain that gets a lot of wind, that loses power quite often, and it's normally fine, but our generator recently broke down. So I was like, dude, come on.
It's a very scary drive.
Tonight is the night. Why does it have to be tonight? It can't be all the rest of the nights when I work until 10
because that's just how things go. As soon as you have like a big thing going, there's always like by Murphy's Law, something will go wrong, you know?
But you know what? We're here. We're doing it. And, you know, knock on wood, it's going well so far.
Absolutely,
and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Excited to get this one going.
And so in honor of our last 2 watch-alongs that we've done, it makes sense that we would make this next one, of course, an anniversary. And because our last one was a 10-year anniversary, it sucks because the whole thing is that I did a video on my old channel, Movie Nerd Reviews, RIP, about the top 10 movies that were turning 10 this year. It still baffles my mind to think that 2010 is 10 years old because I still remember that year very vividly. I guess that's just like that thing that happens when you like get older and you start to remember certain years. You're like, oh, wasn't that only a few years ago? And you're like, oh, no, that was 10 years ago. That's 2010 for me right now. But so we missed the first couple of anniversary watch-alongs. We missed Kick-Ass, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. We still got going, but we kind of already did that for the channel, so we kind of missed that. But we hit Toy Story 3.
We could still do that.
And we already hit Social Network. But, Chris, we've got arguably a watch-along tonight for a movie that's turning 10 this weekend that might be, I'd argue to say this might be the biggest movie that came out that year. Because if you're talking about big budget, original movies from an auteur director that came out in theaters, made a crap ton of money, and made such an impact that it is still widely known and talked about today. I don't know about you. That's an impressive feat, to say the least.
Yeah, and he definitely came off some success in the previous decade as well. So
consider the fact that he was coming off of arguably still the superhero movie of all time. To my mind, still years later, regarded as the superhero movie of all time. Chris, what anniversary watch-along are we hitting tonight?
Tonight we are hitting Inception, 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good one, I got to say.
10-year anniversary watch-along. But Chris, of course, like every other one of our watch-alongs, we couldn't possibly do this alone.
No, not at all.
Absolutely not.
Not that I wouldn't want to do it alone. It's just...
Oh, let's be honest. You would not want to do these just by yourselves. I mean, I'm fun, but when it comes to these things, it's so much better in company. Come on. Don't BS the audience. You can BS me. Don't BS the audience.
Yeah, the thought of hanging out with you for 3 hours straight alone does sound pretty terrible. I guess it's
pretty frightening, to say the least.
Look, you pulled the curtain back, all right? You pulled the curtain back. But with that being said, let's pull the curtain back a little further and then start introducing our guests.
Yeah,
how's that
let's
sound,
bring in our guests, dude. You're better at it than I am, so bring them in.
Here is a first-time guest, but a frequent watcher, someone who we've kind of gotten to know in the chat a little bit. And like I said in the pre-show, it's nice to finally put a face to the name. Everyone, please welcome Luke of Luke Reviews. What's going on, Luke?
Honestly, our first official fan right here. Luke, what's going on, dude?
Just a good supporter, man.
We're watching Inception. I thought it was How to Train Your Dragon.
I think we missed that one by like a couple months, buddy. I might be off, but...
Well, anyway, I'm Luke of Luke Reviews. I do reviews on Instagram, very rarely on YouTube, but it's still there. Follow on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you about that real quick, though. So do you have plans to go back to your YouTube, or is Instagram just kind of your main focus right now?
Yes, Instagram is the main, but I do have plans. So
cool. Well, what I can say is,
One day
go
you might
subscribe.
see a video.
We linked your Instagram. Everyone's here, Instagram and YouTube channels in the description. So please be sure to go and support everyone that's a guest of ours tonight, and be on the lookout for the return of his YouTube channel, because I've watched some of his past videos, and even though there aren't that many, I did enjoy them. So I hope it does make a return. And speaking of making returns, here is someone who kind of has been a part of the infrastructure of our watch-alongs, someone who's been here from the very start, our neighbor to the Great White North. Please welcome back yet again the one and only Brando Critic. How you doing, buddy?
And what's going on, dude? Happy to have you back.
Good to be here, guys. I sense there's a lot of love between you two. And because I see Luke was wearing his jersey from Latvia, I decided to rep Vancouver Grizzlies, the long and one and done NBA franchise of our city. But yes, my name is Brandon, aka the Brando Critic. And like I say in almost all my videos, it's my job to point you guys in the direction of movies worth checking out, especially during this pandemic time when not many new movies are coming out. It's a great time to go back and review and look at 100 years of cinema. And I think I'd like to be a part of that with you guys. So we're watching Inception. I've only seen this movie twice, and I don't think the last time I saw it, I didn't even have the Brando Critic alias yet. So it's been a long time since I've watched this movie. So it's like watching for the very first time, and I'm watching with some great people. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh yeah, happy to have you here, man. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, you know we're happy to have you. And Brando, it is kind of crazy to think about. We kind of met through this pandemic. So that's like a good thing that came from this pandemic, because Elliot would have never have organized this if we all weren't locked in our houses. But the part that makes me sad is that feels like so long ago and not much has changed. So
that was only
hopefully
like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're locked in your house all day and only going to work,
when you're locked in your house, as I've heard from a customers at my job, there's only 3 days now: yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
But what makes me happy is that everyone seems to be in good spirits tonight, and we're all going through this together. So it's not terrible. Not all terrible things have come from this pandemic, like meeting our next guest.
Yep.
Who is
my
a
friendly neighborhood rival here, my community brono.
Would you call it a rivalry, Dom?
I don't even know what it is at this point. I really don't know. I don't even think there's words to describe the sort of relationship that we formed with our next guest, Chris.
I think that's true. And everyone, please join us in welcoming to the show yet again, Joe from Guy at the Movies. Joe, how you doing, man?
Well, now I feel weird. Like Dom just made that really weird.
Okay. The first time that you were here, then you clearly don't know what channel you're on right now.
I'm not sure how to, move forward with this, but anyway, no, very happy to be here. Very happy to watch Inception again. One of my favorite movies out there. It's also kind of nice to watch watch another Nolan film as we're waiting for Tenet to get released, should it ever find its way to theaters.
If it's released.
Yeah. But Guy at the Movies here. Instagram is the main locale that you'll find me, but also the past few weeks, we've launched the Guy at the Movies podcast, which is recorded during Guy at the Movies Live on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's an absolute blast. So we've been having a lot of fun. This past week, we talked about sequels and the good, the bad, the ugly, and also a Hamilton butthole cut. Not quite sure how we got there, but that was a conversation point.
Recent musicals, I love it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, no, really pumped to be here. It's a cool crew to have watching this film. I'm excited to hear everyone's views.
Yeah, and Joe, while we have you sort of on things that are all pertaining to Joe, me, you, Brando, and Dom, we kind of have something coming up in August, don't we?
We do have something coming up in August. We are going to be watching the piece de resistance, the fantastic, Fantastic Four from 2015 for the 5-year anniversary.
Don't you mean Fan Four Stick?
I
hate that so much, by the way. Fan Four Stick, like Jesus, if that's not an indicator enough.
In order to not differentiate it, in order to differentiate it from the Tim Story movies from the 2000s.
Dom, you're on thin ice right now.
Hey man, I've been on thin ice since we first met. I'm used to it.
Something about Nolan always gets Dom so fired up. So I think the best way to sort of
Nolan.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think specifically Nolan it's a pattern I've noticed. So I guess starting with Dom, why don't we all kind of go around and just sort of give a quick little relationship with Chris Nolan before we start rolling the film here? I think that'd be a good way to get into
Look,
this.
I feel like it's safe to say that it's impossible to be a Gen Zer / millennial and having not had your film taste influenced by this man. I'm not going to go so far as to say that he is the modern day Tarantino, but if you're talking about directors left in the world right now that can sell a movie in theaters based on name alone, like how many other people can you think of besides this man? I can think of only 2 other besides this man, that being Quentin Tarantino and M. Night Shyamalan. Like even Scorsese had to go to Netflix, man. Like that is how much of an impact this man has had, because the thing that's so unique about him is the fact that he is one of the few people left in the world that actually makes films for the theatrical going experience, which is obviously something that not a lot of other filmmakers really do. But if we're getting into my own personal relationship, obviously, again, it's a little bit of a cliche to say that I was influenced by The Dark Knight. That's a no-brainer. Everybody here has been influenced by The Dark Knight. Everybody on the internet has been influenced by The Dark Knight. But the thing is that, the funny thing to me is that even before The Dark Knight, my whole turn on with Nolan and my kind of attraction, if you will, to him began with actually his first Batman movie that he directed, that being Batman Begins. And I actually like to give credit to Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight, because Batman Begins is the movie to me that really sort of put him on the map. That's the movie that kind of, when I want to say I was 12, 13 years old when I watched that movie for the first time. I didn't watch it in theaters when it first came out because I was only like, I wasn't even 10 years old when that movie came out. Good God, that's how
you
young
had
I
to sneak
am.
in,
But,
right?
Yeah, I had to sneak in. Yeah, when I was like like 7 years old. But so I watched Batman Begins, and that was kind of the movie. I always liked Batman as a kid. I watched a few of the cartoons, but that was kind of the movie that reaffirmed, was like, whoa, Batman can be cool and in live action, you know? And it's funny because with the amount of times that I've watched Batman Begins now, it still amazes me how many little nuances and just like little filmmaking techniques I can pick up on as time goes on with that movie. And I've seen that movie. I would make an argument to say that I've watched Batman Begins more than like almost any other movie that I've seen. Like, I've seen that movie a lot. And just like as I started to get to watch more and more of Nolan's movies, like it was just one of those things where Nolan's obviously got a very distinct style of filmmaking. And I know that obviously it doesn't get along with like everyone, but I will say that at the very least, like there's a reason why so many people now talk about him. So that's kind of like how I started to get involved with Nolan. I'll kind of get into like more of his filmography as we get in with this watch along. But so who else wants to go next?
No, for sure. Yeah, I'll save myself for last. I just kind of wanted to. I felt you had to get that out of you, man, and I'm happy you did, because I think that was well said.
Again, this is why I regard these as like therapy sessions. You know,
exactly. So I'll save myself for last. Luke, let's go to you, man. What's like your relationship with Nolan?
I am the most unapologetic Nolan fanboy that I know. So when Interstellar was the first movie after I watched, I actually Googled it to know who made it, and then that movie changed how I watch other movies in general. They're not just entertainment, they're actual art. So yeah, ever since then he's been my favorite director, and no one's really come close other than Damien Chazelle, but he only has 3 movies, so there's still time.
Yeah. Is there a specific Nolan film that resonates with you more than others, or are you just a fan in general of his filmography?
I think a lot of them resonate with me, but mostly it's Dunkirk, which is, I think, easily his best one.
Okay. Phenomenal score. Haven't seen that film, and TV nerd. So all those haters in the comments, read the little sub bar there, TV nerd. But I feel like I've seen a decent amount to hold my own in this conversation. But
glad I
moving
finally
on
got to own up to it, Chris.
Oh, dude, I'm never dishonest about what I've seen and haven't seen. There's no point in lying about it. It's going to come out in the recording anyways, But with that being said, let's move on to Joe. Joe, what's like your relationship with Chris Nolan, man?
He's definitely, I think, an iconic director for the fact that he is one of the last remaining original directors, meaning he puts forth original ideas such as, with Interstellar and Inception and now Tenet coming forward that keep you guessing. And the fact that we don't really have a good idea of what Tenet's about outside of some, roundabout
Time travel
ideas, right? Time travel and stuff. But everyone's still looking forward to it like crazy. I absolutely love. Now, separating the films from the filmmaker, I gotta say he has really been irritating me recently with this whole push to be the leader of getting back to the theaters with Tenet and all that. It's just very frustrating to read reports that he's that the studio was walking around on thin ice with him, just because they don't want to upset him and delay his film too much. But there's something called a pandemic going on. So I don't know. It's just, he seems, I don't know enough about him. I think just like his movies are so mysterious in a lot of ways, that he's very mysterious as well. So I'd be interested to hear more, right? We heard those stories about like the chair situation, right? Anne Hathaway said you're not allowed to sit down in a chair on his set and stuff like that. So the most flattering news isn't coming out about him, but I do like what is produced from possibly a really weird way of going about making his films.
Yeah, I mean, I would go as far as to say that his disregard for public safety is a little more than annoying, but
yeah.
I do want to see Tenet, and I do want to get back to living a normal life. So I understand his sort of cabin fever, but like I've said many times on this show, like I have older people living with me that I very much so care about in my household. So I think we all should be safe and just take it sort of day by day. But yeah, I think that was very well put. Now I'm curious to see what Brando thinks about Chris Nolan, how you feel about him, and all that jazz.
Yeah, well, I've met him a couple of times. He's a complete asshole. I'm just totally kidding. But
I was about to say.
Would have been. Hey man,
Hey man, you dropped
you
some
should've
hints though,
stuck
so we
with
don't
that.
know with you.
Totally should have.
he's actually right here, guy. No, I'm kidding. But
He's invisible.
no, my relationship with him is kind of the same with how my relationship with music goes. And I was having this conversation the other day where it's like, do you like download an entire album and just listen to that entire thing, or do you just pick out the songs that you like, save them on your phone, and just go on shuffle, and therefore you'd only have like the best songs? So I think with Christopher Nolan, like with mostly movies, I don't normally find a director and say, that's my guy, I'm going to watch all of his movies. Find another guy or girl and then go through all their movies. If it's a good movie, if it's an interesting movie, I'm going to go see it, right? So I don't consider myself a Nolan fanboy, but, I've enjoyed the Dark Knight trilogy. I've enjoyed Inception. I haven't seen it in a while. I haven't seen The Prestige in a long time, but you know what? I enjoy his movies, right? I do need to give Interstellar a second shot. That, the one scene in that movie, no spoilers, but I just was completely lost. But it's funny though, speaking with people on YouTube or Instagram or film fans, like Christopher Nolan is one of the only directors to really find how do I put this? Like there's a real like fan, like you're a part of the Nolan team or you're not part of the Nolan team. They're kind of like Liverpool fans in terms of soccer or Premier League soccer. So it's like you're with us or you're against us. So with that, it's like talking about Christopher Nolan movies is a little intimidating. In terms of that, because it seems like with his movies there's a real like team mentality, like you're on the Nolan boat or you're not. So I'm just like, you know what, if he makes a movie that looks interesting, like Tenet looks interesting, I'm looking forward to that one. And yeah, like people have told me, it's like, well, Christopher Nolan said that he's going to release it. You know what, it's not his movie to release, it's studios, right? So it doesn't matter what the hell he says. Like, of course, if I was directing a movie, of course I'd want it to come to theaters as soon as possible, right? So people can watch my work on the big screen, but it's not his place to say.
Yeah, I can understand the cabin fever, especially as a creator. I mean, it just sucks when you make something that I'm sure he's proud of. And from what we've seen of the trailers of Tenet, at least what I've seen, I'm certainly excited. So it's got to suck to have to hold this one super close to your chest and just wait for the moment, But the thing about Chris Nolan to me is I have had a lot of conversations about him, and I've spoken with a lot of people, Dom and a bunch of our film friends. Whenever we mentioned Duchess, his name was being tossed around back in the early formative days of our young film eyes very, very, very often. The thing is, for every one of his movies that really resonates with me, there's another that I just really don't get. And it's not that I don't understand the premise or the concept. Interstellar's not confusing to me, but it doesn't resonate with me on this emotional level that so many people have. And the thing is, I really want it to, because the way people, idolize and worship that movie, I want to feel that, of course. It's almost infectious to see how passionate people are about some of these movies that he's made, but they just don't, for some reason, have that effect on me. And the Dark Knight trilogy, obviously phenomenal. In my opinion, that's like top tier superhero stuff. And even past superhero, that's just great filmmaking. But like I said, for I haven't seen most of his movies, but like I've seen the big ones, and they just don't quite, some of them don't quite get me the way I want. So I wouldn't say I'm in the cult, but I very much so will always check out something he's done, because I think, like we're kind of saying, he is a very prominent figure in like the modern landscape of film. So
yeah, and if I could just jump in right here, there are just two things that I wanted to debunk. First off, the whole wanted to get his movie out. Yes, I get it. It sucks the fact that COVID is a thing and movies have had to be delayed. But let's be honest, it's just his ego that he's trying to satisfy here. He's just trying to be like, okay, I want to be the one guy that like manages to get movies back in theaters, with my movie. So that's just that. And as for the whole chairs thing, like, come on, really? Anybody who's ever been on set before knows that like it's not well known for like people to be sitting down all the time. That's just not a thing that usually happens on movie sets. That's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, that's just social media blowing up. That like common sense wise, most people should know about, But that's just me.
Yeah, I guess I don't know too much about him as like a personality, kind of like Joe said. I just sort of know the allure of his films. But so before we jump in and start rolling, I want to thank everyone who's in this right now, watching along with us. We have a few people going on in the chat. As always, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here. We know there's a couple other watch-alongs going on in the YouTube landscape tonight, and we appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. And with that being said, have you guys heard about this? Brian said, and I kind of heard rumblings, but they didn't seem legit enough for me to read the article of the headline I had passed. But what have you guys sort of heard about this?
I've heard a couple of rumblings, but not about that one. That's something that's way crazier, but I'll save that for later on.
Yeah.
For those of you who, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I've seen all the headlines too from all the clickbait articles, and I even said in the chat too. I think just like us film nerds are just running out of things to talk about. You know what I mean? So it's like no one knows what the plot of Tenet is going to be about, right? Unless unless you were there on set and you've worked on the movie, but it's fun to speculate. But I guess we don't have enough sufficient evidence to really say it can be.
Yeah, I think that at least from what I've seen and what I've tried to read, there isn't much. I've watched a few people's trailer reactions, like Double Toasted and whatnot, but they're just grasping at straws, it seems. So they're obviously keeping it close to the belt. It looks cool. The trailers look awesome. It looks visually stunning, like all Nolan movies. I think we can all agree with that. But is he the kind of guy, for those of you who know him better than let's just say like a me or someone else out there who's a little more casual Nolan, would he be the kind of guy to pull this like J.J. Abrams like Cloverfield thing, and would this kind of be like a connected universe, or
Not
what do you guys
yet
think about
from
that?
what I've seen.
Nah. If it is gonna be, it's gonna be like John David Washington picks up like the Inception dream box and asks Robert Pattinson, "What's this?" And he's like, "We don't use that anymore."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that exists.
I think it's a Cloverfield movie, to be honest.
This is where I was going when I said J.J. Abrams. Sean's right on the par. I was like, yeah, Overlord was supposed to be.
Overlord was supposed to be a
Cloverfield
Cloverfield movie, but then Cloverfield Paradox sucks, so they just made it its own thing.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I can't say that, but-
Alarax Films.
Yeah, Alarax Films. Thank you, Dom. Remember, guys, 5 concussions here and a few other minor falls. Don't play contact sports unless you're really good. But Inception theories make my mind have spasms, among many other things that make my mind have spasms. Yes, I can agree with that. And also what I think I can agree with, and I hope you guys agree with too, is unless anyone else has something to say before we jump
I have
into
one
this,
thing left to say about Tenet.
let's hear it, Dom. Yeah,
go
for
the theories
it.
that I've heard is that supposedly this is going to be a movie about them like going through time in order to try and stop 9/11. But I don't know if those are actually confirmed yet. But it would be insane if that was the case.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it'd be a ballsy move for him, to say the least.
If that was the topic, or if that was the plot of the story, I don't think they'd be trying to get it out as quickly as they are.
Right. I'm just saying,
given the current climate with everything.
Right.
But
yeah, what's that predicated on, Dom? Like,
I don't remember. I mostly just fan theories. Like I said, that's why I'm not like trying to like put any sort of legitimacy in it at all. Like I said, I just wanted to like put it out there as like another like fun fan theory idea.
They're going back in time to try to stop COVID-19.
Exactly.
Could you imagine?
Man, it would definitely like make it his most relevant movie.
the Joss Whedon reshoots are about COVID-19.
Oh my god, that's a whole different thing right there.
That kind of sounds more like the Bill Gates biopic.
Yeah,
me,
right.
But, no, the last thing I will say is back to what Brando said about these random ass clickbait articles. It's like I never searched for Clone Wars on my phone, but I must have spoke about it enough that now every day when I log onto Facebook, I get this random news source that I've never heard of who's obviously buying likes, and it's like Clone Wars season 19 coming in 3 years.
Yeah,
like there
man.
were. It's like, yo, who's writing these articles, man? What's happening?
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. Just give me the facts.
For likes.
Like I just keep. It's canceled. The last season's over. They're not doing another one. Stop teasing me. I can't. My morning brain can't compute. And I'm really glad I didn't rewatch this film with my morning brain, because this movie is a handful, to say the least. Are you guys ready to jump into Inception?
Do this.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Hell yeah. So we'll do a little countdown. Everyone in the chat. And if you guys got your fingers on the mouse and you're ready to click, let me know and we can do the countdown, everyone.
All right. Ready
Cool.
to go.
So 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Oh shit! Now it's just doing the loading screen. All right, that's fine.
Nah, that's fine. A few seconds. There's always, a few seconds. lag.
WB logo, but in black and white, Nolan style.
I could recite this movie scene for scene.
I love that.
Do it.
I've seen this 3 times this year alone. A week ago was the
I've
latest
watched
one.
it a while.
It's a
How many?
commitment.
How many in total you think?
I don't know, like 15 probably.
Wow.
Wow.
Not
Okay.
maybe not 15, but 10 surely.
I've
Seems
heard.
like we got the right guy.
I've definitely heard the. Oh my god, this is like related to Titanic, because doesn't like Leo like wash up on shore? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think they made like a joke about this at some point.
Yeah. But then people like really took it way too seriously.
Yeah.
I think
Titanic
anyone-
too.
As they do everything.
Anything that really resonates with people, they want to like.
Yeah, they just
Do
want
their
it to, like, be way
conspiracies
more
about.
important than it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that Christopher Nolan likes to like reuse actors. Leo he's only made one movie with him, right?
Yes,
This
this
one.
is the only one that he's been in.
He's too expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's too expensive. Yeah, he's in Scorsese's wheelhouse.
yeah.
You don't think Chris Nolan's kind of like a younger guy who's on that echelon, or he still has to prove himself a little bit more? You think?
Oh, I don't think he needs to prove himself anymore. After The Dark Knight, I think
Yeah,
he
that's what I'm
has
saying.
quite a
Dark
he has
Knight.
quite a lot of.
Well, between Dark Knight
I feel like
and
he
this
could have got
movie, I
any
would
budget
say.
he wanted for this film. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. After like the success of those first two Dark Knights.
Yeah,
I think he had a hard time with this film because of the premise of it. From a lot of the stuff I read, it was all a lot of the process was him trying to convince people that it wouldn't be too confusing.
right. I feel like that happened with The Matrix too when that got
Yeah.
released. Like Lawrence Fishburne's
definitely-
like, I don't know if people would understand this. I showed my sister The Matrix for the first time last night. So
Nice.
yeah, that's
You've
what I
You've
been
been
got.
watching that movie a lot since you first watched it not too long ago, huh?
Yeah, I did. I watched it with a watch along for the tier list, and then last night my sister's like, "Can we watch The Matrix? I've never seen it." I'm like, "All right, sure." But yeah, I did a tier list for the Matrix trilogy, and oh my god, did the Matrix fans come out to lynch me? My goodness, like, yeah,
Jeez.
that is a passionate fan base. I had no idea what I was walking into.
Surprised that like Collider hasn't had to deal with that fan base yet. All right, and the infamous top spinning scene, establishing one of many. It's funny too because like when this movie came out, this was like one of like the first couple of movies that like established like the train of like those like movies
Constants?
that were made famous by the internet,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
before like toxic fan bases were even a thing. Match.
Yeah.
cuts.
You know, I never thought this film was confusing though.
Me
It
neither.
always
I
felt
never
pretty
understood
cut and
where that
dry.
whole criticism came from.
Yeah. I don't know. What about you guys? Did anyone have like a comprehension issue the first time? No judgment. I'm just kind of curious. Like, and in the chat too, like, was this one of those films that was confusing for you, or?
I don't
Surprisingly
remember
not,
watching it the first time. Now I've seen it so many times that.
Yeah, for
But-
you, it's probably burning your brain, huh?
But like a week ago, we had a bit of a movie night at a friend's house, and they were like, "Oh, you're the movie guy. You picked the movie." I'm like, "No." So I was looking at Netflix. Oh, Inception. Yeah, let's watch that. So then every 5 minutes, I have 3 people asking me, what are they doing now? Why does Tom Hardy look like an old dude now?"
And then they realize, oh wait, that's not Tom Hardy.
And then a day later, I get a message. "Do you have a webcam?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "Oh, I gotta watch Inception again a week later." Oh, but I couldn't miss it.
It's like I
But
feel
you
like
know
I'm
you
a
love it.
tenant having to watch Inception over and over again.
I think the
Oh,
one
God.
thing with this movie too, though, like I don't know that I was confused when I first saw it, but I think that it's one of those movies that there's so much to catch and so much to watch, and it's visually a stunning movie, and
Yeah.
the acting is top notch. So I feel like it's one of those that at the end you're not confused, but you're like, I want to go back and see that again. I have questions.
Yeah, I certainly knew I had to rewatch it to give a good commentary throughout this. I couldn't go into this, coming off it 3-4 years not having seen it. It's a loaded film. It's certainly a loaded film. You got to pay attention. You can't really, if you're not fresh to watching it, I personally think you can't really talk through it. You got to like really reacquaint yourself with what's going on. But if you pay attention, I think it's pretty cut and dry and just kind of an awesome ride.
I'm kind of doing a reverse on that. Like I haven't seen this movie in maybe like 7 years, right? And so now we're doing a watch along for it. Like I have subtitles on so I can actually like really get all the dialogue. But I was thinking after this, like if I'm not doing anything later on, actually watch it, or in a couple days, just watch it with the lights off and put on movie theater mode in the house and really take it all in. Because like I think it was Joe that just said it, it's one of those movies where it might not be confusing, but when you watch it again, you'll get like certain things differently, and there's a lot more to scoop out.
Also, right off the bat, you notice like just how beautiful the cinematography is. Like this movie is shot in a way that like most other big budget movies, especially now at this time, like we're just not being shot by. Like very well deserved cinematography Oscar win.
Yeah, I think this movie has class. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's got it's like it's jazzy in a sense. It's like it's got like articulation to it. It's still kind of bores me in sometimes, but it does have class.
And Marion Cotillard's is beautiful.
One of the first of many Marion Cotillard collaborations with Nolan. Won't be surprised if she has a cameo in Tenet.
Right. I want Nolan to do a Bond film.
Seriously, he would be an awesome Bond director.
Is that window designed after the syncope?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I just caught that.
Yeah.
Or is the syncope designed after the window?
Bold, Luke. Bold.
I think the syncope logo was around before.
If anyone cares, it's the sun has come up now.
Nice. Dude, by the time we're done with this, people are going to be having their coffee where you're at and
It's
eating
gonna be
some
7.
breakfast.
It's gonna be lunchtime by the time
That's
we're done
crazy.
with this by him.
Dude, you really are a trooper, man. Thanks again for braving the wee hours with us.
That man doesn't sleep.
Yeah, dude. Why would you sleep when you have cool shit to do?
Like Leo would hang with sliding down a rope on the side building.
I gotta agree with you guys though. This is super spy intro to
Yes.
me. Nolan would do a good James Bond, wouldn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
he?
I think
I'd like to see that.
he's said a couple times that he's definitely been influenced by the Bond movies many, many times because, like, with the snow, like all that stuff is very On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
100%.
The opening from The Dark Knight Rises is a direct homage to the opening of License to Kill. If you guys have seen that with the plane hanging like that, it's a direct homage. So, like, I think if you get a brand new actor, because obviously Daniel Craig won't be doing them anymore, having Christopher Nolan kind of take a fresh start on it, I think just let him go nuts. I think I'd be down for that for sure.
Kind of like a Dark Knight. Maybe give us like a trilogy.
Because like the more and more I think about it, yeah, you're right. Like every one of like Nolan, I always wondered, I'm like, these always remind me of something, but like, what do they remind me of? And everybody, it's funny because a couple of friends of mine always said that they were like very Kubrick-esque. But
They're kind of like that one episode of Community where.
Oh my God!
that was
I wasn't the one
Hey,
that
there we
made
go.
Community references time.
Everyone drink. Take a sip. First
I actually
Community
have to
reference.
sit
Says the
through
Talkin
these
TV
references.
Nah, it's
drinking
been a
game.
little bit since I finished the show, so obviously it's not on my mind as much. So I'm not going to be making as many references going forward. But hey, I might just rewatch the whole series now just to torture Joe a little bit more.
Hey Joe, you still got to do your homework, man. We want you on our Community versus Office.
You
debate,
better
which
be on it,
is
dude.
coming sooner
I'm
than
waiting. I'm waiting for
It's
the
coming.
date. That's going to give me the push.
2 weeks, man. That's the date.
later. Well, we'll talk post show, but it's coming.
We got to wait for Chris to actually finish the show first. So
I'm ahead of schedule, just so everyone knows.
I
Though.
like to hear that.
So
Back to Inception though. The interesting thing is with Leo, it seems like Nolan wanted to work with Leo for a long time because there's those reports that even with Dark Knight Rises that he originally was targeting Leo to play the Riddler and to be the bad guy.
Cool.
Because I may have this backwards, but I think it was that the studio wanted the Riddler in the film, probably because it's more marketable and stuff like that. But the reporting I saw was that Nolan didn't want another heady villain. He wanted someone that was more brute strength instead of psychological, threats. So, but if he was forced to do the Riddler, he wanted Leo for it. So it's kind of interesting to me. It seems like he's had his eye on him for a while.
I mean, the dude kills any role I've seen him in.
Yeah.
Like he is just. I think he's a phenomenal actor. So
It's funny. Every time I think that I don't like DiCaprio, I rewatch one of his movies and I'm like, oh no, DiCaprio's awesome.
He has
Let's
a
come
couple
back to-
underrated ones too.
Yeah.
what
Diaries much?
What's that?
Basketball Diaries much?
Yes. Also, The Beach.
I haven't seen that, so.
So what makes you like, kind of flip flop on him, Dom?
I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe it's just because, like, the fact that his real life image, he's a pretty boy. He dates all these super hot models. It always kind of be like, is he really that good of an actor or is he just good looking? That kind of thing. And then I rewatched one of my movies, and all of his movies are like some of my favorite movies. Like Wolf of Wall Street, Departed, Django. Those are all like the best movies for me of those years that they came out. And I always am reminded, oh, no, he's incredible,
Yeah. No, I kind of feel that way about like Brad Pitt sometimes. You know?
Yeah, Brad Pitt, I could get that. But even with Pitt, I don't know. Like, that's just the whole thing with Pitt with me is that, like, to me, like, I'm always convinced, like, he's a character actor in a leading man's body. And to me, like, Leo has never not been. I think he's only not been a leading man in, like, one movie, and it's Django. But even that, like, sorry, two. Django and What's Eating Gilbert, great, you know? But it's almost like those are just, like, off performances, you know? Like, Brad Pitt's had, like, a few, like, supporting role performances, you know, where it's like, oh, yeah, like, Brad Pitt's got 12 Monkeys, so.
Totally. I see what you
Burn
mean.
After Reading, too.
Yeah, oh, man.
He goes completely off. He just goes complete meathead with it.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite of his performances. I don't necessarily like that movie that much. I think it's kind of lower echelon Coen Brothers, but he is great in that movie.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry guys. So what's the time code for you guys right now? Because my Netflix is just being really stupid.
Yeah. No worries. We're at 11:33.
11:33. Okay.
7.
Oh, there we go. Got it.
You know,
Nash. Yeah. Okay.
Joe, are you watching this on Netflix?
He's out.
I'm not. I'm watching it. I actually rented it because I thought it was on Netflix, but I couldn't.
Yeah, that's
find
what
it.
I'm saying, dude.
Uh-huh.
We got lied to in the States.
Canadian Netflix.
They bumped it. It was on there a couple weeks ago.
It was.
Yeah.
I was like, this is all set up. This is all ready to go. And then I checked today, so I had to rent it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Giving them more money than they already have.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Dom, no surprise. Andrew didn't come through. Shocker there, right?
By that at all. I'm sorry, Chris. It
I
really
have a friend
sucks.
called
If you told me
Andrew,
that, if you told me
never
that before
meet
I
a
left for work today, I would have been able to get you a copy.
No, it's all, dude. So I'm glad I'm not going crazy though, because Joe saw it too. Okay, Joe saw it too.
I watched it a few weeks ago too.
Yeah. I was going to say, what the hell? So Luke and Brando, don't take what's on your Netflix queue for granted. You know, I've learned that the hard way a few times now.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Well, like, I can understand, like European Netflix and like North American Netflix, but like Canadian Netflix and American Netflix having like complete different libraries is just. I don't know. I just find it so
time I was
weird.
able to actually watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Netflix was only when I was in Italy a few years ago. And then when I got back to the States, I'm like, well, bye-bye Brooklyn Nine-Nine for now. And then ironically enough, when I actually started watching it again, it stopped being funny. So I guess it was perfect timing right there.
But I will tell you that Andy Samberg is very good in Palm Springs.
Yes, can't wait for that. I'm going to watch that like sometime this weekend.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
Yeah, I'm probably going to watch that. Yeah, as well. Some point this
the
weekend.
latest movie to utilize, the latest non-Groundhog Day movie to utilize the Groundhog Day technique. Even though it's actually
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I get the time code again? Sorry, just one more time.
No. It's all good, man. For Brando and everyone else, we are 13 minutes and 25 seconds into the movie.
Man, I'm spot on.
All right, good.
13:25. Hey, we had a good count today. We had a good countdown today.
Cool.
And I love how this opening scene is like it's just a totally unique way of like establishing information and exposition. Like I love that. It's to me like a thing that like not enough movies now. It's actually establishing information and exposition through action. Like to me, the screenplay does not get enough credit either. Because like, everybody's always so fascinating and focused on the technicals. That like the screenplay is rock solid and very well done.
Yeah, Dom, I was really thinking there is a strength in the screenplay while I was watching it, and
yes,
and
I love how you use those words specifically.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, I suppose. We won't have to go any further right now. But yeah, you're totally right, man. Like, this is if there was a way to do exposition that is not only not boring, but engaging, I think this is a great example.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like this whole, this is only like the first 10 minutes of the movie, and it's so brimming and filled with action. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And
gripping.
Yeah, gripping for sure. It's a little confusing at first. You're like, whoa, we're just like getting off a beach and now it's like we're in Japan. But then you kind of, you quickly, you get it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You gotta have a little bit of patience.
Are you kind of confused right now, Brando, not having seen this in a while? Because I was a little, when I didn't pay attention rewatching this in preparation, I was like, okay, I got to put my phone down and really focus. And then it was easy, but like,
I mean, kind of, just because, like you said, like we are like talking over it and stuff, and so I'm passively watching it, but and like I said before, like I'm sure that in a couple days, like I'll watch this again, and actually fully get into the movie. Might get into another state of consciousness, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, hey, I like that. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah, and my parents gave me my birthday present a little bit earlier, which is like a outdoor projector.
Ooh,
so
nice.
So I've been watching a couple movies outside over the last couple weeks, and I might do that. Might do that with Inception. So
It's a good idea.
Very
What's
good
your
idea.
speaker system for that? Does the projector have one or?
It does, but we just got it off Facebook Marketplace, and she gave us just like some Logitech computer speakers, but because it gets like dark out, like dark enough to watch a movie at around like 10:30, so that if it gets a bit too late, we can just put in headphones, and obviously if you're watching it alone, there's no problem. So I'll just wear these ones, the Bose noise cancellation ones.
That's dope, man. That's sounds like a hookup. You don't need 4K if you got a projector, right?
Yeah, outside too, like just get some blankets and yeah.
Are you the part of Canada where like, because I know you're West Coast, right? So is there a cold season? There's always a cold season, right?
Well,
this can't be like a year-round projector chill sesh, can it?
no. Well, I mean, where I live, it rains a lot, right? So the closest, I guess, American city that we can relate to in terms of the weather would be like Seattle and Portland.
Yeah.
So like northwest coast, because it is a rainforest, right? So it rains quite a bit. But our summers are really warm. But I don't know the Fahrenheit to Celsius ratio, but it doesn't get that cold really ever. Like I think the coldest we'll ever get to for the year is like -2 for maybe 5 days. I'll do the what's the word I'm looking for? I'll figure out what that is in Fahrenheit.
On it.
No, Celsius is fine. Celsius is the best one.
Yeah,
We got three Americans
We have
here.
the worst system of measurement in the world. We get it. The customer system makes no sense.
Well, you know what? We use pounds and when I say my height, I always go like 6'8". So I will use inches then too. And
wait, you're 6'8"?
I'm 6'8". Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, you're taller than me.
It's 28 Fahrenheit. That's as cold as we'll get.
Okay.
It's pretty cold.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sit outside and watch a movie in that.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had a projector.
But
even still,
maybe
knowing
not.
how like cold Canada gets, like that's still not as cold as Canada gets.
Yeah.
I love how like we've been through this whole section. We haven't yet talked about Joseph Gordon-Levitt yet, because this was still at the time when like Joseph Gordon-Levitt was shaping up to be like a pretty big star, because he had like 500 Days of Summer the previous year, and he had Inception this year, which was like a big hit for them, and they had 50-50 the following year, which was like gearing up to be his Oscar hit. And then it's like, I don't know, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt just kind of like went away after Don John. He had that one movie the night before, which Chris and I have talked about, but like, I don't know, like what happened with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Obviously, like he was shaping up to be like the future Batman, with like the future within the Nolan verse of Dark Knight Rises, even though Dark Knight Rises was obviously supposed to be the last movie. But like, I don't know, like what happened to Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah. Have you guys seen The Walk?
I like that movie.
Me
I don't think
too.
it's the best movie, but it's a good movie.
I don't think many people saw it.
I hadn't even heard of that.
Yeah, it's was it
Robert Zemeckis.
Robert Zemeckis, right? Robert Zemeckis. Yeah, it was. It's just one of those things where, like, was it just bad? Was like a couple movies of his just bombed? Like,
I think it was just like it was a combination of just like not well received. Robert Zemeckis hadn't had a hit in a while. Friggin' like it was a very strange movie. Like it was a very different kind of a biopic. Just like all of the above kind of a thing.
Maybe I'll watch that one outside too. But yeah, all in all, like from May to October in where I live in the west part of Canada, it's like it's still really, really warm. And then from October to March, it's just rain. And you might get 5 days of snow, but that's about it. But it doesn't get too cold like the rest of Canada. You're getting like in minus 40.
Seattle was one of my favorite places I've ever visited. I just loved it, dude. Because I just love, taking a rainy day when everyone's all upset and just like getting a bunch of shit done and like making that day like a good day,
So
I was
today.
So
I was just out there
100% today.
end of last year, and I was visiting friends, and I like 3 days in, I was like, how do people with like really bad anxiety and stuff deal with this, or like depression? Like it's
True.
every day was the same. I was like, oh my God.
I understand that too. Like even this year, like it was just, I think we had like rain for like 14 days in a row. I'm like, all right, let's just get some sunlight or something. But it's understandable. But the summers more than make up for it. So that's good.
Yeah, you get those West Coast summers, man.
Oh yeah.
That was a quick helicopter ride.
Yeah, I did think that too. I have a question. Like, this is something for some reason that just interests me about filmmaking. When did drones come into play? I mean, feel like these are helicopter shots. They don't, but like were people using drones back then? Because there's a lot of like establishing shots from an aerial view in this movie, and I'm like, damn, that could be expensive with all these helicopters. You know, like,
Maybe
do you
it's,
guys
like,
know
maybe
when
it's, like,
drones
one
took
of the
over?
first movie that like used drones, but like low key before like they became like known to be used. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because I couldn't help watching this thing and being like, yo, this budget is insane, dude. This better have been a hit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Seriously.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Walks box office. It like for budget, I always like double it because of like marketing and stuff. It looks like it just barely broke even. So, with that not being a hit, and I guess with like using this bike movie, I remember that. Like,
the Premium Rush, that movie.
Yeah,
I think that was the
saw
same
that
year as
one.
50-50, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Why Joseph Gordon-Levitt kind of isn't in the limelight anymore? I mean, he could have just backed off on himself. I don't know if he like started a family or whatever, or if he's doing more producing, or if he's doing other side projects. But yeah, it is interesting how he's not really an A-lister at the moment.
He has a few in the shoot here, especially the Trial of the Chicago 7. Aaron
Which I'm
Sorkin's next
really
movie.
looking forward to that movie.
And
I hope
think
that one
that's-
comes out on Netflix.
I think Netflix grabbed it or Apple TV, one of those.
Yeah.
Um,
That just seemed like a movie that just seemed made for streaming.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah, so that should be good. I also think that he tried, like, I think Snowden was expected to be a bigger movie than it really was.
He was in.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
All right, obligatory Michael Caine role in a Nolan movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 7,500 just came out, didn't it?
Right. Yeah, that went right to Amazon. The one where he's in the.
I still have yet to see that. I want to watch that. I heard good things.
He's just busy being Robin. You know how the Dark Knight trilogy ended.
Is like Michael Caine being in Chris
Michael
Nolan
Caine,
movies
I think, has been in
obligatory?
every single Christopher Nolan movie since Batman Begins.
Yes, that's correct.
That's cool. So it seems the one thing I'm learning, outside of television, because you have to produce so many episodes, and like, let's not forget TV Nerd, right? It's interesting to see how directors kind of have their guys,
Yeah.
It's or girls, you know what I mean? We're using guys as more of like a general term.
And it's
but
funny because, like, to me, like the first couple guys I mean, Scorsese obviously first, but like it was really just Scorsese and De Niro, and that was kind of like the one known guy. But like there have been on and off directors that have done that for like a couple years. Like Denzel was with both Tony Scott and Spike Lee for a couple movies. Ridley Scott used Russell Crowe for a decent amount of movies. But like in recent years, it's really become like Michael Caine has been in like every Nolan movie. DiCaprio with Scorsese,
Spielberg with Hanks.
Spielberg with Hanks, yeah, especially in recent years, because but everyone forgets that like Hanks only did like 2 movies with Spielberg up to that point, with Saving Private Ryan and Catch Me If You Can, and then recently, obviously, with Bridge of Spies and The Post.
Yeah,
and Spielberg entered this boring phase, as I
think he did The Terminal too, or was that with Zemeckis?
No, actually, yeah, you're right. The Terminal,
I love
that
that.
too.
Medicine is for
What is Spielberg?
God.
Yeah,
What's
name
that,
me
Luke?
one Spielberg movie besides The Adventures of Tintin this past 10 years that's actually been interesting. I can't think of a single one.
Ready Player One?
Ugh, missed opportunity, that movie.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
I did
I
too.
enjoyed it. As
I
well.
was not a big fan of that movie.
Should I see it? I haven't seen it.
I think you would get something out of it, but that's also because, Chris, you haven't read the book. And for me, a big thing is, reading the book kind of ruined the movie version, because the book is so much more awesome than the movie is.
Right. He did Lincoln too.
Boring.
Vampire Hunter.
Not that one.
Ah,
The one that
bad.
won Oscars, not the more fun one.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, it was the Oscar one for sure. Yeah. What
So
else
for
did I-
anyone who's wondering, we're almost we're 24:45, just about 25 minutes into this
Introduction
film
of
here.
Ellen Page back when she was in her superstardom. Well, let's just talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
like,
what happened to her, dude? I was
Right?
watching this and I was like, yo,
I
who
don't-
is this?
Flatline.
What happened?
I think she
Yeah.
came out, and then I think her career kind of imploded.
Well, that
I mean, I don't
sucked
think
that
that was the reason, but I think like the timeline is like way too like suspicious.
Because she was one of the people that like came out, like was talking about like how Brett Ratner like outed her before she like officially came out, like while they were filming X3 when she was 16, and that's kind of to me like when she like disappeared. So
Yeah, because I think like Juno came out a year later. Yeah.
yeah, because it was Last Stand was her first like huge big break, then Juno, was like her big Oscar movie. And then 08 and 09, I don't remember her being in anything. Then she had this, which was huge. And then like
I never really cared for her, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was kind of one note to me as an actress.
I totally agree with that. I don't think that I get a lot,
which makes her perfect for a Nolan movie, but
and I think it makes her perfect for more of an indie movie too. Like I like her in those type of roles.
Definitely like more of like an indie hipster person.
But fun fact, you know who was considered for this role?
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Oh my god!
I mean,
I think it's a role she could have pulled
like
off.
a sore thumb.
Could you imagine her
off,
drawing the?
Oh god, no!
Oh, she would definitely try to be dating these co-stars and then make a breakup song about them.
Right?
Yeah.
God,
But
yeah.
Ellen Page, fellow Canadian actress.
Yeah, right.
You know,
She would have got a whole other album out of this movie, man.
The album would have been like Inception, Deception.
So, if I remember correctly, I believe
Deception. I love that. Yes,
Inception,
Joe, you
Deception.
win the clip. You win the clip, man. That is.
if I'm remembering correctly, this scene is the first effective use of the visual effects in this movie. Because up to that point, it's been primarily practical effects. In this movie. But this is the first scene where they use the visual effects. And I just remember even when I watched this movie for the first time being like, okay, I don't necessarily like know if I enjoy this movie, but the visual effects in this are great.
Yeah.
You know, like for an original big budget movie, like these visual effects are like really impressive. That's the thing about Nolan is Nolan has always been a guy who like in this decade of like over flooded, nauseating, terrible looking CG effects, Nolan has always been the guy that actually knows how and when to use visual effects rightfully in these movies. So, like maybe you guys can like comment on that, you know, like why he seems to be the one guy who actually knows how to use them properly.
So I think he blends them well.
I agree.
You know, like I remember the Dark Knight Rises. I remember I saw some featurettes about, you know, like the plane in the beginning and then like the bat, right? That's what it's called. Like the flying,
the ship. Yeah.
The ship, whatever. But they made like a life-size version of it and moved it around on these giant wires. Of course, they use CGI for some of the bigger ones, but like you have like the effects work together, right? Like I watched Jurassic Park again not too long ago, and that movie still looks amazing, even though it was 1993. And it's because they had like the real life T-Rex, and then for some shots they use CGI also. So it's a nice blend. So I think, you know, if movies can effectively do that, then it can, you know, make it really look nice. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think they hold up. You know, there was only one instance in this film where I was like, okay, that didn't really look that good. It's when they in a few seconds here they're gonna step and then they're gonna go that way. You know, when they like bend it up.
I know what you're
And
talking about.
That was like I was like, okay, but like for the most part, I was like, wow, this is actually awesome to look at 10 years later. You know, like impressive.
Have you guys actually been to Paris before? Sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
No, that's
Yeah.
When I was 13, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember walking around and I saw a cafe and I was like, I've seen this cafe before, and I didn't actually look it up, so I can't say that it was the one from Inception, but I was like, this looks really familiar.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, you guys were talking about the special
This was shot on location, right? I mean, this doesn't look green.
majority
screen,
of it,
doesn't
yeah.
feel- yeah.
There's too many like exterior shots for this to have not been shot on location.
Yeah.
Well, they do that. Like, is that like
Yeah.
this movie's very. Chris, you mentioned this when we were doing our top 10, talking about movies of returning five. But like, this movie is very information heavy. Like half of the, like almost all these scenes are like just Leo explaining stuff to Ellen Page. You know.
I think you have to
Yeah,
like set up, and I thought she was a really cool vessel to be the audience's eye to look through into like
Yes.
what the hell is going on here, because they made it interesting. Like, yes, she is one note. I can agree with that. Actually, I didn't really think that until you guys said it, but I do agree. But it's funny to me how she isn't boring at the same time.
Right.
Like, it's just a good expedition dump in this first, like, you know, opening act. You know, the first act. I think-
Exposition.
Yeah. She's very innocent
Yeah.
looking. We can kind of like attach ourselves onto her. Like, okay, so Leo's kind of like explaining it to us too, right? So it's not like he's explaining it to a character actor where that's very eccentric and everything. It's like we can relate with Ellen Page's character because she's
I
just
guess
so
then
normal.
maybe that leads into my question, which is that like how obviously people always again, most of the people on the internet about people complain ad nauseum about how so much exposition and explaining stuff in movies feel like information dump. But I guess just my question is how is it that it's specifically in Nolan movies or like even in Tarantino movies, how in some movies exposition dumps can sound interesting? Like is that just an acting thing or like is it a writing thing? Like because I was like that was just one of the things I was never able to figure out the difference. You know, what is the difference between exposition that sounds interesting to explain as opposed to stuff that is just boring to listen to? You know.
Probably a mix of both. You know, like I'll use Jurassic Park again as an example. Like when Sam Neill is or Alan Grant's like explaining what like a raptor can do to that stupid kid. He's like, it looks like a 6-foot turkey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like it's an entertaining way of explaining things, and yet you're also it's acted well, and it's also like introducing like character elements, right? So it's like we're learning about the raptors, we're learning about the dinosaurs, but then we're also learning that this character hates kids, and it's told in a unique visual way. So if it's just like, I don't get this, and it's just two people sitting in a room talking, but like see with walking on the sides, like this is visual, like that one shot of Paris kind of moving up, like that is the iconic shot of the movie. People are going to remember that.
Yeah.
And of course, Leonardo DiCaprio, doesn't hurt, of course.
Right. Yeah, I remember like that shot in the trailer and just being like, "Whoa!" Like I don't even think I remember watching the full trailer.
Yeah.
I just remember being like, "Wowed" by that.
But that's a good question though, dude. It's a good discussion piece. Why do exposition? Why does exposition work in some movies and not in others?
Right. Just like looking at these visuals, I'm like, wow. Like even like just making like the simple thing, just like a bridge, like extend kind of like out of nowhere. Like it's awesome. Like how he's explaining like the little tidbits of like the dream world and how it works. This is so it's the thing, it's been covered before, like a lot in like movies and TV, but like this is like the first movie that like really sought to tackle that from like a sci-fi standpoint of like
this scene right here, and I'm sorry, Dom, I agree 100%. And that's why I want to chime in. This scene right here is a perfect example of like kind of setting the tone like through exposition, show don't tell, and I think like the environment too, like you have Paris, normal looking Paris, but the extras are so intense, dude. Like their stares are almost like it's like some scary ass shit. It's like horror movie level, the way that these people just turn their heads in this film nonstop. Like it feels very real until it doesn't, and I like that. The way they paint this picture is the
like
parts of the film I like. Or like really the first act.
That reflection piece right there. I love when movies do that. Just like the seemingly nonstop display of affections right there. It's awesome.
Like it gave me Last Jedi vibes.
Yes. Somebody else is gonna have to say that besides me. Of course, Leo has to let his wife come in. I don't know.
If anyone cares, there's people yelling outside again.
What are they yelling?
I don't know. Just like, hey! It's typical Saturday morning vibes.
That's a common occurrence by you, huh?
Yeah, every watch along, it's like I hear a guy yelling outside. Look out the window. There they are again.
What are they like? Just getting off a night on the town, or just waking up for work, or?
Yeah, this is typical what you see in Latvia, in Riga.
Do you live in like a city or something, or more rural, or what?
I live in the capital, but not the most densely populated part.
Gotcha.
It's not Manhattan.
Yeah, it's on the coast, right? Riga.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you have to go a bit to get to the coast. Okay,
cool. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just looking up parts about the city because I don't know much about Latvia. My cousin studied abroad in Vienna, and he traveled to Latvia, Estonia, and he loved it there. So
that's good.
But I haven't been that far east in Europe. Furthest east I've been is probably Munich, I guess. Munich, Germany.
Luke, is it bad that the only reason why
I've never been to Europe
about
so.
Latvia as a country is because of the movie Holes?
Holes?
Yeah, are you not familiar with that?
Oh yeah. I love that.
Brandon knows what it is.
I'm just trying to remember what part they mention it.
They just said Latvia because the whole thing is that their ancestor Stanley Yelnats, the whatever, was cursed by a woman while he still lived in Latvia.
Right.
Why?
I don't know. That was just like I have a feeling that was probably just like they were probably just like looking for like some random Eastern European country to use. And like, oh, Latvia's never been used before. Let's use that one.
And then Brooklyn Nine-Nine uses Captain Latvia. Latvia.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
I was about to say, Brandon, you got a fan here.
Oh.
What's up, Celeste?
Hey. I think his name's Andre. I think he's just using someone else's account.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
but
whoever you are, thanks for being here.
But yeah, no, a current they show up a lot in my watch alongs.
Cool. Well, just to let them know where we're at in this film, we're about 35 minutes in. So if you want to
beginning to assemble the team, we got the first member
I kind of want to go around, starting with Luke, because you seem to really like this film, man. Like, where is your head at this point in the movie? Because now we're like assembling the team, we're gearing up. We understand the concepts. Like, where's your head at right now in watching this film?
Right now, it's like, yes, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Would you guys say this was Tom Hardy's introduction to the mainstream?
He had stuff before.
Yeah, but
Right?
nothing as big as this.
Yeah. Because I
Let me
think he
ask
was
you
in a
this.
Star Trek movie, and then he was in Black Hawk Down. I didn't even know
Black
that.
Hawk Down, and then I think the big thing, he was in that Bronson, the Nicholas Winding Refn movie before Drive. But this to me was like his big introduction to like the mainstream.
So
Mhm.
was this movie projected to be a big mainstream hit?
I don't
Was
think
this
so.
supposed to be a big hit? You know what I mean?
I think at the time it was supposed to be like a big summer blockbuster that was original, but like nowhere near as big as the hit that they assumed it was. That's the thing about these hits. Like whenever you get like a hit like this, like you never think it's going to be that big as it is,
So pull me back in time, like what was the reaction to this film when it first came out?
Yeah, I was 8, so I also want to know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, like, how was this received? Obviously, we know. I would also want to ask after that. Like, I feel like it's kind of lived on really strongly, but it had to have only been because of an incredible initial like reaction. So, like, do you guys know like what like the whole zeitgeist was saying about this film when it first dropped, or?
If I'm remembering correctly, it was that. And again, I was 13 at the time, so the fact that
Yeah, we were all pretty young, huh?
anything of when this came out. My whole thing was that because Chris, you would have been how old in 2010 when this came out?
10 years ago, I would have been 16.
Yes. So the whole thing, if I remember, yeah, because I turned 13 after this movie, a month after this movie came out, because I turned 13 in August of 2010. So if I remember this correctly, it was just mostly just like what kind of the equivalent of like what happens today, like whenever like a movie wins Best Picture, which is just like it's just this movie that like it just is so widely seen by everybody that it's gonna have like all myriad of discussion and reactions to it, which obviously now we're kind of used to. But it's the fact that like because you had a movie that was this big and that everybody was talking about it in some different way, you had people who who were idolizing it. Then you had the people who said, "Oh, it sucks as a result of it. It's not that good." And that's a result of like, "Oh, it was so confusing. We didn't understand it." Which is like all that talk, like kind of that sense of like discussion, but like before the internet really became a thing. That is my memory of like people like and the kind of the discussion, how like kind of everybody knew that it was like a huge hit because like it was the first movie of that year that like everybody was talking about.
Yeah, it was I think it was like a word of mouth movie too. Like I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it like a couple of years later. But I just remember like, oh yeah, it's like the dream movie with Leo. Like that, I remember kids talking about that in school. Like this movie came out because my birthday's July 13th. So like this came out like my birthday weekend when I turned 15. So I remember people
happy
saying
birthday,
like,
man, in that case.
oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, happy birthday, man.
Like I remember people just going, yeah, it's that dream movie with Leo. And I remember seeing the trailer. But yeah, I think just like you said, the Instagram and Rotten Tomatoes and like just the movie fandom, the online community of movie fans is definitely not what it was back then.
We didn't even have Instagram. Twitter was in its second or first year.
Go sideways. He's not going sideways.
Yeah, right. I remember this being an early Honest Trailer joke. I remember this being like one of the first early, like back when Honest Trailers was in its heyday.
Can I be honest? These parts of the film, as impressive as they are, and as much as they now want me to get a Chris Nolan directed Bond film, I think they kind of take away from the charm of this movie, which is the deep sci-fi of this film, the whole dream within a dream thing. Like for me, the dialogue parts of this movie are always 10 times stronger than the action, as amazing as the action is. Like I'm not trying to knock it, but I just like, I don't want to be taken out of this intensely immersive and charming like dream within a dream and learning about it, and you know what I mean? Like do any of you guys feel that way, or am I just like the lone wolf here and saying
no
that?
That's interesting because like we get that, like there's movies where it's funny again, I can't believe I keep comparing it to because they're such different directors, but like that's a thing that I keep hearing like compared to like Quentin Tarantino, like where people, the thing that everybody loves, that people love Tarantino's dialogue, but whenever it gets to his action sequences, the people like almost complain where they're a little bit ridiculous and overblown and distracting. Me, I personally don't feel that way because I take a film as it is, but I find that very interesting that you say that.
I do think that there's a way with sci-fi to overdo it. And I think what Nolan does really well is balances all the different aspects of a film there. So like here, like of course I would love to see more, and I would love to explore more of this idea of Inception. Maybe we will with Tenet, who knows? I don't think we will, but whatever.
Hope.
But you know, once it's very structured, right? He gives you the tease at the beginning with it. You learn about it as you go, and then you have that like the last act that is just forever going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you get all the practical effects. You get all the neat, you know, the things that are memorable about this movie. Arguably, this part of the movie for me, I always forget about. To be quite honest, I just always remember the end. I remember that like the dive in, and then chaos ensues.
Yeah, and not to make it, that last scene where they're on the skis and all hell's breaking loose, that's badass. Like I'm not saying I don't like that. It's just for me, this is I think that's a good way to put it, Joe. It's not like in your face like, "Oh, look at this crazy cool concept we have. Like every episode we're going to jump through another fucking Stargate." Like put it in your face, like it's like nuanced, it's subtle. There's a touch of it, but there's enough for you to keep wanting more. Then you get this action scene, and for me it's like, "Okay, cool." But I would rather it not be an action movie, but I still love it. You know what I mean? It's like I got this weird thing with this film where it's like I still love it, but I love sci-fi, but a lot of it I don't love. You know what I mean? I love the genre, but it's very hard for me to have a sci-fi title that I actually really love. And so to have one that could go deeper and has action instead makes me a little upset. But like I said, I also don't want to critique the filmmaker for his choices, but I don't know. I just want a little more of like the dialogue. I think it's really done well in this film. Like what Brando or Luke, what do you guys think about this?
I go on, Luke.
It's good to balance the crazy dream action with a regular chase through the streets. It's just action. I'm never going to complain about more action. I mean, Mission Impossible Fallout, one of my favorite movies. I mean, fun action is fun action. I'm not going to complain personally.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Chris. I think just, the concept of the movie alone is so interesting. We've seen so many action movies. Like, there's blockbuster. Oh my God, action. That when you have a concept like this that's really original and really intriguing and really well done, your mind is going to naturally want to gravitate towards it. And I think, this film does a good job of not giving you all the action right away. Like I love the hallway, like the hotel hallway fight when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like walking around on the walls and the ceiling and stuff. Like if they did that right at the beginning, like it's kind of like you played your hand way too soon in poker, you know what I mean? So I think they're holding their cards like really, really close to them.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think as an action film rooted in deep sci-fi, it works. It clearly works. I mean, it's resonated with millions of people. But for me, it's just like when I was first watching it, I didn't care that much. But then when I rewatched it with my like analytical eye, I was like, oh yeah, there's action parts. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's my taste. And we have this friend, Pat, who's been on our show before, Dom and I, and he just loves action films, even if they're bad. And the one thing I've kind of learned through talking with him about how much he loves action films is really how much I don't love action films.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of just
that sense from you, Chris, that like you're not the biggest fan of straight action film. And I'll be the first person to admit, because they're not my favorite movies either.
You kind of hit the nail on the head too. Like it's very. One of the reasons I like coming back on here is because we all have very different tastes, obviously, right? And all different interests. And I think Brendan and I have talked about this in the past. It's funny, like when you go to post something or, the trolls come out of nowhere and tell you how wrong your opinion is. And we're all coming to this with different tastes and different interests and are going to feel different ways about things. But the cool part about doing a watch along like this is that through those conversations, you learn more about the movie, right? Like you see it from a different angle. You get different perspectives on it that maybe shape the film a little differently each time you see it. So
yeah, none of us are butthurt in here, which I appreciate.
Thank God.
You know what I mean? So yeah, like I remember I'm doing like first time reactions just because, I think they're kind of a fun way to expand my, list of movies that I've seen. And, like I just did Jaws and like, it's a movie that I've just been embarrassed I haven't seen. And I finally watched it and oh my God, I got this one guy, he just ripped into me and he's going like, this movie's so close to my childhood. How could you not treat it as a classic. You know, like you didn't watch Jaws, I watched Jaws, and he goes on about how much he loves the movie, and he's like, why not treat the movie like I know it is? It's like, dude, I don't know who you are, you know. And by you saying you haven't seen Jaws, I've seen Jaws, and he goes on to say how he saw it in the theater and everything. And I told him, like, that is such the wrong way to want to brag about your experience. That's like saying you're not in love, I'm in love. I found my wife when I was traveling alone in London, and it's like, yeah, my goodness. So
you get the trolls like crazy on your account.
All those people who made those videos saying, "Oh, George Lucas killed my child." It's like, first of all, dude, if you have to rely, if your entire childhood comprised of having one movie come out, then I'm sorry, that's a pretty sad childhood. And second of all, just like the whole thing of like these people that come out and be like, "Oh, you're a terrible person and you suck because you haven't watched one movie." It's like, Jesus Christ, people, come on! Like, there is more to life than this kind of thing. It's like. Just kind of reminds you of like just how the internet is just kind of like revealed like how like petty some people
It's a cesspool is what it is.
It really is.
A good way to think about it is like, think of like a geezer like going to like, you know, your local Walmart or whatever, and they're just trying to like use their coupons and it's expired and they just lose their shit. And it's like, this guy has nothing in his life worth giving a shit about other than his coupons. So I always say, like, if people are getting just so angry, I'm like, wow, their life must be super sad if that's that, like, if they're getting so upset about that, they really have nothing else in their life going for them.
Also, probably not a good idea to make the joke with them filming Pete Postlethwaite literally on his deathbed. I don't think that he actually was, but only because he only died like a year after this movie came out. So
it's kind of like
a year or 2 years after.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's like that cameo in Space Force, right? Kind of like that kind of situation. I forget his name. What was his name?
Fred Willard.
Yeah. Fred Willard. Yeah,
like
right
Mr.
before
Dunphy.
he died. Also, another frequent Nolan collaborator, Cillian Murphy, Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, and another quick 80s cameo actor, Tom Berenger. That's the other thing. Like, Chris Nolan, I don't know if any of you guys picked up on this, but Chris Nolan's got this trend of like casting these like big name 80s actors for like one-off parts in the movie. Like, he had Matthew Modine in Dark Knight Rises, and there was like another guy. Yeah, obviously the famous casting David Bowie as Nikola Tesla in The Prestige. And he's got Tom Berenger in this movie.
Oh, the guy from The Dark Knight. Like he dropped. He's like, your legs aren't gonna break.
Yeah, Eric Roberts in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I just remember him from the Mariah Carey video.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Cillian Murphy, man. I was very surprised when I watched Peaky Blinders and just saw him crush it.
Yeah,
as a leading man. Because my only other experience from him was just.
I've heard so much about, but like that like I've heard every time I hear about it that people tell me that show is awesome, and I'm like, ugh. Yeah,
no, I absolutely love that show, man. And it's like he does, you know, later on in this film get a bigger role, but like all I had seen him in was this movie, and then he comes back out of nowhere and is like Thomas fucking Shelby and just like slicing people with the razor sewn in his hat, and I'm like, damn, this guy's got range. Like,
he was in a creepy movie years ago, Red Eye with Rachel McAdams, was it? I think it's Rachel McAdams, but it's like he's basically like a killer, and they're on a plane and she's trying to like get away from him, and there's something tied. I don't know if it's like something with a family member or I don't know, but he's really creepy in it, and that's what I always think of him in.
Is he more of like a character actor, or just has he not been given a chance to be a leading man? Like,
no,
I can't decide, you know?
He's said he's one of those guys. He's one of those English actors that very much is about the work and not about the stardom. And so the whole thing is that like that's a reason why, like, at least from the American side, it seems like he's more of a character actor. But like, he's had a few starring roles, but they've mostly been British movies.
Is that like an English thing, to be more about like the art and less about like the stardom? Is that really? Because that's so fucking respectable. If that is,
British.
It is. Because the whole British take on acting is just so different from the American. Like with British, like it's just a job, you know, like that's what it, like it's theater, like that's what it's not like this like revered aspect of like the pop culture stratosphere. Like to them, it's just a job.
They train for it and stuff too. Yeah. Like it's not like Paris Hilton decides one day to be an actress, right? Like it's what they do.
Like it's a professional graded thing. Like those are like the whole, because it's a big part of their culture is rooted in obviously like just like theater, you know. So
yeah, true. I guess you know, like Shakespeare and all that stuff, I'm sure has a huge influence over there. Not that it doesn't over here, but like the classic plays and theater, for sure, we get that from them.
Yeah, the British.
Yeah, yeah. But no, Brando, I kind of want to I kind of wanted to double back to something real quick. How does one get haters?
You know what? Like,
I know.
it's by having shitty opinions. No, I think like I don't know. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. We are just talking about like just overall bullying and like how it works in society, and it was just kind of like a, smoking a cigar on the campfire kind of a discussion. But like, I think it's when you say something that matters to people, then people get upset about it. And it's like if you're getting no hate, then you're not saying anything that really matters. So whatever you say that matters enough to someone, and they just get, oh. So, I mean, like it's a thought that I haven't really sat down with yet too much, but I can understand if you're just being like an asshole and just being like, I know some Instagram accounts will go like, oh, movies that everyone loves, but I don't like. And they don't give any explanations for it. They just want to, stir the pot. I can understand that, but yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I think just if you trigger enough fans.
I don't know. I guess this will also like activate something really sad in society where it's like, wow, the only way that you know that something matters is if it's something that like people are willing to bully you about it. Like that's just a sad facet to me where it's like, wow. Like,
yeah.
Because the whole thing is that like, obviously if you care about it, then it should matter. But like, I guess like that's the only way to know if it like matters to other people,
Yeah.
You know what's even sadder is I think how many creators view having haters as a sign of success. Like, why is success predicated on hate?
Right.
What's the
Which
point of
feeds
even
into
doing
that
it?
argument right there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I wanted to go there. I think that was well put, Dom. Dom, do we have haters or just like shitty friends?
No, shitty.
Dom
friends.
has a hater.
No, because the problem is none of our haters are willing to are willing to comment on our stuff.
Oh, I'm happy to.
Yeah, they hate us
Get
so much
old.
they don't even want to boost us in the algorithm. Isn't that the
Exactly.
case, Dom?
Yeah.
Yeah. God
Yeah.
damn it. Algorithms rule our fucking lives, man.
Those people
Where's
don't
that sci-fi
count
film?
as haters, right? Seriously? Oh, they're out there. Trust me,
Yeah.
they're out there.
Maybe Black Mirror. I mean, I haven't seen too much of it, but
Yeah.
Oh, dude, Black Mirror, 100%.
we'll have
Watch-
to do an episode on that at some point, Dom. I
Nosedive.
got to catch up.
Dude, nosedive, dude. That whole episode right there.
I know you've been telling me about it for a while.
It's the
I
best
just gotta-
episode. It's the best because it's the episode that's pretty much like about our entire lives.
Do you know what it is? I get scared of the dark still. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a grown ass adult, but the dark still kind of scares me. And Black Mirror gets a little deep sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but like nothing that
And-
like is actually like about the dark. So
Visually,
I don't really
like,
know
the
where that
screen
comes
goes
from.
really dark.
Like, dark subject matter wise, sure, but not really that visually.
It's having that be the last, because I watch my television before bed, having that be the last thing you watch and then just letting it stew in your brain,
That's
sitting
not
there
so
in the
true.
dark. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
That's why I always make sure whenever I watch Black Mirror, I watch it like in the middle of the day. That's the best time to watch Black Mirror. Middle
Like
of the day.
I was FaceTiming my 13-year-old cousin on the 4th of July, and he was telling me like his whole family was making fun of him because when he goes down to the basement to grab something for his folks and stuff while they're cooking and whatnot, he's like, yo, Chris, like they're making fun of me because I'm like sprinting to get in and out of there. Like I'm scared. And I was like, listen, I did the same thing. I get it. You know what I mean? I get it.
Come on,
dude.
Chris. You
I don't
do
know,
the
like,
same thing,
I
is
just
what you were
find-
just about to say.
Yeah, well, all
There's
right,
still
all
people
right.
that are scared of
fine.
the dark, you know? Like that to me, like that's not a thing that like enough people are scared of anymore.
I think
you
I
know?
said this before, but like
Yeah,
after
maybe I'm the
watching
outlier.
the Chucky films when I was a kid, like all the Child's Play films, I would not put my
Yes!
feet over the side of the bed. I was like always terrified. And
Dude!
to this day, I think about it.
It was Chucky. It was fucking Chucky.
It was
My
always Chucky.
cousin snuck it over. He was a little older. I was like 5. He was like 10.
I would've
He's like, we're
died.
watching this. And I couldn't, bro. I lost my shit. I couldn't handle it. Like I was crying.
Oh.
My parents came in. I was like 5. So, whatever. But yeah, Chucky ruined me. Like I didn't touch horror until I was 23.
It
Yeah.
all
I'm so
goes
glad-
back to Chucky.
I
Yeah.
had to
It all
watch-
goes back.
I had to watch 5 Chucky movies in one day
Oh my god, that sounds
Like a-
horrible.
because I got
Why?
lazy and I just said to myself, okay, I'm gonna watch all of them before the new one. And I got lazy and said, okay, I'm gonna watch 4 and then go to the new one. That was not a fun experience.
Are they actual good movies to someone who's not a 5-year-old viewer?
No,
Or
no.
yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Watch Chucky when they're 5.
Dude, I
I
had
did
some
too.
shitty. I had some shitty older cousins.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you that much.
Haven't seen any of them. We worked on Child's Play, the most recent one, but I haven't seen any Chucky.
Oh,
movies.
nice. Yeah, I heard that one was like actually really good.
No, it wasn't.
The one
They
movie
actually
that
tried to do something different with the
I mean-
character, so at the very least.
Not really.
Maybe we'll do
No,
a
it did,
Chucky watch
but,
along in October.
Also,
we'll get,
finally
we'll
having-
get this crew back together.
Also, finally changing the voice actor, right? Because it didn't Brad Dourif voice Chucky for the longest time.
Oh,
Man,
no
I think,
idea.
and then they finally changed it to Mark Hamill,
we're going deep on
who
Chucky.
seemed
Wow,
like
really?
born to voice. Who seemed like born to voice Chucky. Yeah, he voiced Chucky on this most recent Child's Play movie that came out last summer.
Okay, now that sounds terrifying. Have you guys seen him as the Joker?
Yes.
Or him as the
I
Fire
haven't
Lord.
seen him. I've heard him.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, dude.
Holy shit! Oh my god! This
Oh
show
man,
just
Chris,
keeps
this
getting
is why I
better
like
the more you
drunk,
tell me
because this
about
is
it,
when you like get like surprised by everything. I miss that, Chris.
dude. Wild, Tom.
Last
I love
Airbender is the greatest thing ever.
Greatest animated show, American animated show,
Greatest
ever
show, period.
I'm
I still make a strong argument for Sopranos and The Wire, but
I'm currently watching it all the way through. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to any of our listeners out there. And let me tell you guys, this show is incredible.
it's amazing.
This is like a top tier show, not even
Oh,
just a
man.
cartoon.
I'm on the finale right now, and I'm sad that I have to say goodbye to it again because that it's so fucking good, that show. All right, now back to Inception, which is the movie that we're
Alright.
actually here to talk about.
What?
Oh man, I love that
Big
so
Chuck-
much.
Big Chucky
Oh man,
for
I
like
love it
5
when we do
minutes.
that when we
Yeah,
just like
the
go
Chucky
so off
podcast.
topic. I'll tell you the big problem. I think why we keep getting so off topic is because we can't watch this with sound. So as a result, like it becomes that much easier for us to like lose track of it.
Yeah. At least
I
it's
mean,
not Marvel.
Thank God.
Yeah,
I-
that's a fact
I-
for our show.
I love the MCU, but god damn it, can we talk about anything else? Anything else?
Star
I love the
Wars.
MCU. I love the MCU. Don't get mad at me.
And in
everyone.
that case, let me
What?
plug that the
Yeah.
final installment of my MCU ranking series will be available to everyone on Monday.
And
The
if you were
final
wondering
two
how
entries.
Brandon
Fucking
gets his haters,
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Brandon and I hate the MCU. So go. I'm
you
just
would
kidding.
not be the first one.
So don't
Yeah,
fucking
no.
talk to me about it. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
No, I can talk about the MCU and I love the MCU movies, but it seems like every single watch along I do, every single Q&A that I do, every
They're
single
like, oh, Brandon, what about the
It's-
MCU? What about this
it's
Marvel movie? Brandon,
just-
what are you going to talk about the MCU?
it's just the
Me
MCU.
is every one of Brandon's haters in one
Brandon,
person.
do you have those kind of toxic commenters that can take Jaws and turn it into like the struggle of Thor throughout like the entire MCU? Like, do you have those kind of people or?
Surprisingly not, but you know what's funny? Like I remember I did the Matrix tier list one, and I basically I think I love the first one, I like the second, and I don't like the third. And then this one guy gave me this huge comment about like, you know, like, oh, what do you know? You only have this many subscribers. Like it got really personal. And then I'm like, all right, dude, if you're gonna attack me for that, it's clear that you have nothing else to say. And he goes, oh, all right, that's fine. Someone dumb like you can just watch the Marvel movies. The Matrix movies are too
Wow.
smart for you.
Oh,
You
Then.
tried
those
to pull that argument.
those
Okay,
are the
this guy doesn't
nuanced
know who
ones?
I
You
am.
watch Marvel movies and the Matrix are smart. Dude, I would take half the Marvel
Wow.
movies over the last two Matrix movies any day of the week.
Yeah, and like I said, like I'd watched the first Matrix movie, and I wasn't planning on watching the sequels. And almost everyone that I knew, and I said, this is what I said: the vast majority of people that I've talked to have said, "Don't watch the Matrix sequels." But then I said, you know what? It'd be kind of a fun video. I'm going to do it anyway. And so I said in the video, I said the vast majority of people that I know said not to watch them. And the guy's like, the vast majority? You don't know anyone. You're just a fucking stupid 1.5 thousand subscriber person. Like, what fans do you have? You think you're so tough?
And
Like,
you
what
should have
vast
mentioned,
majority?
yeah, I have 5,000 subscribers. How many subscribers do you have?
and I'm
That's
like-
exactly the comment that you should have made.
I said the vast majority of people I talk to, meaning like people at work, my family, my friends, and the people I have talked to,
Normal
out of that
people
group of
in my
people-
life.
said don't watch them. And besides, and he's
And
just
you
like,
know
well,
what,
it says
Brandon?
a lot about people when
Fuck
you.
them, because you just
Yeah.
hit.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
No, sorry, no, I just
2,000.
want to say fuck them because you just hit 2K subscribers. So congrats on that,
yeah.
my friend. That
Thanks,
is
Hell
guys.
huge.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
dude.
And you
I
should
really
celebrate
appreciate
that. So fuck those comments.
Yeah,
I'll drink to that.
And
I gotta say,
yeah, I'll
Marion
drink to
Cotillard
that
down
too.
here,
Hell yeah.
right here.
Cheers,
Oh my
Brandon.
God.
Congrats.
Seriously, like Marion Cotillard, like, god damn.
Yeah,
And while we're on
Goddamn.
that subject, finally getting back to the movie, we are 59 minutes and 35 seconds in. Welcome to our Inception watch along, where the real questions are being asked: Matrix and Marvel, who's smarter?
The answer is none of them, but
yeah. Like, and it's, besides, they're just movies. You know, they're just
True.
movies.
yeah, but if we
Yeah.
can just get back to Inception right now, like the whole
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to talk about here
Okay.
is just kind of like Oh man, there's just like so much that's involved here. Like I like just like the kind of the thought mechanisms that are involved here. How like they use the elevator, like descending through the different levels of the consciousness, like the visual representations of like kind of like the different things that go on in your mind. Like that's the like we it's so much of that stuff we take for granted now. But this movie like kind of really brought that stuff to the forefront, like in the visual language, and it's really impressive. Like we've had movies like that before, but this is kind of like the first like modern day one that did that. You know,
It's kind of like this is gonna be a stretch, so join me on this journey.
Please tell me you're referencing another episode of Community.
No.
Please tell me.
Going like when they're down there and he's seeing his ex or his wife and all that, it just reminds me of like the Bogarts from Harry Potter, where it's like,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's like the thing that can really fuck with your mind.
That. I definitely see that. Okay, and
Yeah.
can I just be the first person again? Like I hate to be that guy that nitpicks a subplot in a Nolan movie that doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. But I definitely feel like there could have been a situation where they kind of explain why he's being haunted by his wife and how she killed herself. I feel like crime investigators and like there would have been other witnesses at the hotel that definitely would have been able to debunk the fact. Like, yeah, DiCaprio did not kill his wife. And so the whole thing that like that's the drive where I don't know, like just that whole thing, like that never really rung that true to me. And so that I'm gonna be honest, that kind of like is what ruined this movie for me for most of
People
like,
die
why
every
I
day,
never
Dom.
thought the movie was as good, you know?
Damn, I thought you really loved this movie, Dom.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's a very well-made movie, but you know as well as I do, it's not one of my favorite movies from this year. I like Social Network, Toy Story 3, The Fighter, Black Swan, and Scott Pilgrim all more than this movie.
I thought I was gonna kind of let you down. I mean, obviously,
No,
we each have
not at all.
different opinions, but
And
I was
I've
like, man,
famously gone
I
on
feel
record to
bad
say that
because
this is not one of my favorite Nolan movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
at
I
all.
just I didn't pick up because listen, everyone on the panel in the chat, like when Dom really likes something, it's hard just because he's so passionate about it to be like, damn, like I see the art in it, but I don't really like it that much.
Right.
So I was like, I didn't want to bum him out, So I'm
Just
glad.
because
I'm
it's
glad
me.
we're not
I mean,
really-
I don't
doing
want
that
anybody to
kinda
like
way.
ever be deterred from their opinion just because I'm passionate about something,
No, yeah, but it's a good passion. It rubs off, It
Yeah.
gets you inspired. Now, let me just say this because we missed my favorite moment in this movie. So Hans Zimmer, I think, is the guy we got to speak about for a few seconds here.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of what I can forgive about the action scenes of this film are just how incredible the score is and how I don't think Hans Zimmer came close to this film until 7 years later with Dunkirk, which made me think like, damn, this dude's he's still going with the incredible scores. But like for a while, this was like the end all be all of scores, specifically when like they say Inception for the first time. And then right after it, in a moment that could have been so corny in any other film, but in this film, it was just magic where the hit happens, the orchestral hit, Inception, boom. And you're like, oh shit, I'm locked in. That's like my I'm locked into this moment movie.
And I feel like the problem with that comes from
Or
the
movie
fact
moment,
that because that trailer score, that mic drop, that needle drop was so iconic that like almost every other trailer for like the next like 5 to 7 years just ripped it off. Even in like other Nolan trailers that like the trailers weren't as impressive as those trailers. Like it just became like one of many cinematic tropes / cliches that just became like so heavily ripped off and parodied.
Yeah, like Hans Zimmer does such a good job of blending like rock and roll with classical like styles and just like, but still having his own unique voice. But you can tell he's like so versed in everything, and I think it really works for these deep sci-fi concepts that like Nolan, at least in this specific situation, has given him. But this score is a character, in my opinion. It's just like another part of the technicals that really work for this film.
Yeah.
Now we're finally getting into it. An hour in, and we're finally getting into the heist.
Yeah, like
Yeah, you know what?
the scores are so
Amazing.
important. So important.
How do you guys feel about how long it takes to get into it?
Because like this is like it's like the movie is basically an event, right? Like the Inception heist, right? Kind of like the Ocean's 11 or like the heist is the entire thing that the movie is leading up to. So I think it gives it enough time to like it's only an hour in, like everything is set up, everything we need to know. There's still some questions to be answered, but like everything that we need to know like they're not going to explain how the dream works when it's happening. You know what I mean?
Right. You
So-
have the foundation here.
Yeah. So I think the foundation was pretty well built, and now from here on out, it's just all suspense. It's all fun. It's all action, and of course things go wrong. Of course, it's a movie; things have to happen like that. But I think the pacing is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's funny because this was another criticism that I heard at the time is that like for such an incredible, again, like I it was one of those criticisms that I didn't necessarily buy into, but I understood where they were coming from. What is that like for such a crazy, insane, very intricate premise? Like Nolan does a very basic story with it, which is that the basic story of this is a basic heist movie. But at the same time, it's like, how else would you do this? You know, overall. So, and as far as like once they actually get going with the heist itself, like it actually like it is like really quick, cut and dry, like them jumping from location to location within the subconscious and how they like utilize it. And once they actually get going, like it is really well done, you know. So that to me like kind of excuses the fact that this doesn't necessarily have to be like as well structured as a more traditional movie, you know. Because the whole thing that I go to is that like just because the movie doesn't follow the traditional structure, you know, like that can sometimes add the unique charm of it, especially once you know we get into like these bigger and more broader, grander experimental filmmakers, you know.
I mean, you want to talk about not following structure? Just look at Tarantino.
Seriously.
The impact he's had.
Right there.
Yeah. And you know, but this movie does throw in some sort of curveballs, like that train coming through, which we later in the film learn it has a different meaning where they explain it, but it's like, whoa, there's a train out of nowhere. Like I thought they were in control,
like
even though it is kind of like a generic heist formula with a lot of exposition prior. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
one thing I was
you need all that exposition too in order to like just understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the few movies that actually warrants an hour worth of exposition and setup.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was gonna say when you guys were talking about like the elevator, and I remember we talked about structure in film school and in directing class. We talked about Inception and how he said what was great about this movie is that you can think of it in terms of like stories of a building, right? So you have like the main, you know, you have like the real world, and you have another dream world, and another dream world, and that. Because Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know why I said Dom, but regardless, Cobb, sorry.
There's another character that actually has my name. It's not Dom from Fast and Furious.
Yeah, Cobb, sorry. How he goes down on an elevator, you know, having that be the visual motif makes it a lot easier for the audience to kind of separate the different dream worlds. You know, it's a lot easier. It's subtle, but it works. Like you might not notice it, but your brain does. Kind of thing. So having that visual motif of the elevator makes it a lot easier for just an average moviegoer to understand, okay, dream world, real world, and then it goes down and down and down and down, as opposed to going like sideways or like trying to just juggle them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely like how they like orient it like structure wise. Obviously, again, structure is important to movies. So
yeah.
And you know, I think the elevator could be insulting had they played on it just a little bit more to the intelligence of the audience. But I think just because it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it might paint that extra clarity in for, you know, because I guess I have to think about the fact too that like most people might not be as much of a sci-fi watcher as me. So there might be a lot that they're just not used to that I'm just used to because I know the genre, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's subtle. It's subtle.
Mhm.
You know, you go down an elevator into your dream. They're not going, hey guys, we're going down an elevator because this isn't the real world. It's the dream world. You know, it's not like Independence Day where everything is just so on the nose.
Yeah.
Luke, I just caught a gnarly lens flare over there, man. People are waking up in Latvia, huh?
Well, I just turned off the light because I thought, it's light enough now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be a total opposite effect because once we're all done, like I feel like like every one of us is gonna go to bed except for Luke, who's just gonna be like, oh, I gotta get going with my day on Saturday.
You know, I'm curious about that. Do you go to sleep after these like all-nighters kind of, or do you just, are you fired up and you're just like taking the next day by the horns?
Well, this time I figured I gotta actually talk a bit, so I'm gonna take a nap so that I'm a bit aware. So
Right.
I might take a nap midday because I gotta go to see The Shining at 6.
Ooh.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Lucky
Theaters
person.
are
I
open by
always
Theaters
wanted to
are
see
open.
Shining. I mean, I was kind of lucky because I got to see The Shining on a big screen. It was in like, I don't know. At Dutch, it's like I had this one professor who did like a series of screenings for a director per semester, and I got to see 5 Kubrick movies in a row, and that was my first experience with The Shining. So even though it wasn't technically in the theater, I still got to see The Shining on a big screen, and it really made an impact.
Yeah. Are theaters open in New York or Philly right now?
No. Drive-ins.
Driving.
Yeah, the theaters just opened in Vancouver. You know, they're showing like, you know, The Matrix, Jurassic Park, Empire Strikes Back, those kind of things. I think it's opening and they're opening in a couple days. Yeah, we're doing like, I'm surprised how well Vancouver's doing. It's a little weird. I'm just waiting for the second wave to hit, but you know, people are, you know, doing their part, wearing their masks, keeping social distance. You
That's
know,
awesome.
so
Do you guys go by Fauci, being that you're so kind of close to us over there, or do you have like your own like internal department, kind of like telling you guys how you should play it if you want to take their advice?
yeah, so we have like the head doctor of Canada who she I don't know what it is about her, but she is not a very nice person. But our like British Columbia, their province, which is a state, just like a state for all you guys watching in the chat. But regardless, we have Dr. Bonnie Henry, and the native our indigenous tribe here in Vancouver has actually like given her like inducted her into the tribe as well as like the calm one, because she goes on every single day and goes, all right, everyone, we have 4 new cases. She's the most calm person, and she is now like a local celebrity here. And
we actually have someone like that in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
She's just so calm every time she's on TV, and she'll be delivering devastating news, but does it so calmly and collected, and like tells you like what to do. But yeah, theaters here they pushed everything back, like the major chains, because of when Tenet got moved. I think a lot of them were like, all right, well, we're gonna hold off a little bit. But interestingly enough, today a local theater that had just reopened, I think 2 weeks ago, just announced that they're shutting down for the foreseeable future until new releases start coming out, because I guess they're just not seeing the traffic that they want to.
Right. Yeah. And don't take that province state joke to heart, guys. I had someone ask who was the king of Canada the other day to me. So
Hopefully not another
The
Canadian.
king
That would
of
be-
Don't call
Canada.
Dom out like that on the live.
I was about
God.
to say, I'm like, look, I know I'm uneducated when it comes to that, but
I feel
still,
like the king
No,
of
it's
Canada
fine.
would have to be Chad Kroger, right? He's a guy, isn't he? I love him, I think.
he lives in my suburb.
Oh, see, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
You're in the honor of the king. What about you, Luke? What's it been like over there? Were you guys quarantined indoors? Has it kind of been business as usual? Like
Well,
how's it been?
The day we got our first case, it was a bit of a panic, and then 2 days later, everything shut down, everything closed. That's probably why we're recovering. We only have max 5 cases a day. Until recently, we got 11, which is a spike, so to say. Yeah, it's as I predicted, the beginning of July is gonna seem more normal. So yeah, we're dealing with it as best we can.
That's cool. And you're not nervous about going out to the theater tonight. In other words, you're just like
Nah.
itching to get back out there.
Oh, I wear a mask, so you know.
Yeah.
Precautions.
Who knows, man? Everyone's getting information left and right, but I just was curious. You know, we haven't spoken to someone from your neck of the woods yet, so.
Yeah, I don't want to get too political, but I saw this one picture and I just had to laugh where it's like, it just said, America is the only country where the whole existence of coronavirus, COVID-19, is a political opinion.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
accurate.
That's so accurate.
My favorite recently has been that the rest of the world is watching America, like America watches Florida.
yeah,
And it's so spot on.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
It's
Oh my
unfortunate.
God.
That's so tragic. So true.
We're all Florida man right now.
This time really, really makes me embarrassed to be an American.
Yeah,
It
it's
really
sad.
does.
But you know what doesn't make me embarrassed? How much I love Inception.
Yeah.
Back
there
to
you
the
go.
Movie.
Our biggest export is entertainment.
Yep.
It is. Like, what people don't realize is like, so I took a course called Canadian cinema, and literally the first day my professor said, so think of cinema as a donut. American cinema is the actual donut. World cinema is the hole in the middle. Canadian cinema is the hole within the hole, right? We don't get federal funding that much for our own movies because we're just so close to America that basically our pop culture is American pop culture, you know?
Wow.
I'm getting
That kind of
myself
sucks. That
flashbacks.
means you guys don't even get an identity of your own when it comes to like your own pop culture. So
Well, musically, you
how
guys-
much stuff.
Musically, we do, because there's the
okay.
rule that it's like 30% of everything played on the radio has to be Canadian content.
Okay.
And also what Canada does that a lot of my friends who tour to this day still are very upset about is no matter the size of your band, independent, signed, whatever, Canada will give you a stipend to tour if you show them the dates in advance. And if you let them know where you'll be on each day, they will give you like a fund to help you go out and tour, because that's like, helping the country if you
That's
become an
awesome.
expert.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's actually really cool the way they kind of support the arts up there. But don't sell yourself short, man. You guys have a lot of film productions. Like, look at the CW.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Like, all your guys' stuff. Half
Yeah.
the movies that we watch are filmed up there.
Yeah, I did a whole report on this, is that what is considered Canadian content, and I used the example of Juno. It's a Canadian director, Canadian writer,
Yep.
Canadian cast, like mostly Canadian cast. Michael Cera and Ellen Page, filmed in Vancouver. Canadian crew and post-production crew. But it was produced by Americans, American
And
dollars.
That's why it is
now
regarded as
considered
an American movie.
It is an American movie. So it's just it's just money wise. We don't have like a quota. Like when I think in like the 40s and 50s, when Hollywood was really getting big, Britain had the quota for them. So it's like there's a lot of British movies. But in Canada, we had one for music, we had one for television, but we didn't have one for film production, for like actual movies. We made studios for Americans to come up here, but and that's why you don't really see any big Canadian movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Luke? Are you like an aspiring filmmaker, or are you just more like a film appreciator? I haven't really ever asked you that.
More appreciator, but one day I'd like to make like a short film or something, but nothing too major.
Gotcha. Are there any like hit movies in from Latvia that you think we may have heard of, or do you think it's like pretty obscure?
Every year, the most watched film in the cinema is a Latvian one. Last year it was Blizzard of Souls.
Okay, I haven't heard of that, but
I've never heard of that, but
that's cool. I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
There's Dream Team 1935, how we won the first European basketball championship.
Right.
I don't think we've won it since.
At least you got one.
Yeah, there's a few. Those are my two favorites.
Mm-hmm. I know Latvian hockey is getting bigger over here.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of like scouts for NHL teams are making like their hubs in Latvia now, because a lot of good players are coming out there.
Well, the World Championship's happening here next year, so
yeah,
I'm gonna go to a few games of that.
That'd be awesome.
So yeah, back to Inception. One thing I kind of just had pop into my head. I don't know if Leo's sort of decay throughout the film is. I don't know if he does the best job sort of presenting that, like getting to the place of like he double crosses, right? But it doesn't ever feel like he's trying to do that. It kind of sometimes I do think while watching this that like while it is a great Leo performance, kind of feels a little lazy at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
One of those instances where this is one of the few movies where I would argue that he coasts, and it feels like just Leo being Leo rather than giving a great performance. This is probably the only movie that I would argue that that's the case.
Yeah, that's
like,
a
what's
great way to
Cobb's
put it.
character? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the infamous scene, the infamous thing where it's like, oh, she started to not be able to tell the difference between dreams and reality. Yeah, Chris, specifically with this scene, I can see where you're coming from with that. Because again, this is to me where like, again, this soul, the motivation for just everything in this movie, this became the reason why I was not the biggest fan of this movie for the longest time. Like, I'm sorry, there's such an easy way to work this out, like such an easy way. Like just any basic crime investigator worth his money would be able to tell that was a suicide,
So I kind of disagree with that, because I think that there's so many different cases that we see day to day that get kind of caught up in different, theories of what happened, that it's very probable here. I mean, even looking at like unsolved mysteries and stuff that just popped on Netflix, some of that stuff seems pretty straightforward, yet it still goes unsolved or takes a different turn. So
yeah,
I mean, I like that they didn't spend too much time on it and just said like, take it for what it is, don't overthink it.
But this, at the same time, I also think that like, obviously because this is a movie, and also because like there's it's just one of those things where it's like, it's one thing if an idea is so ludicrous that it's like, okay, there's no way that like this obviously could have worked. So obviously, like, I just kind of have to take it for what it is. But this is one of those situations where it's like, it almost works, but like just like a few lines like just being rewritten like could have made this like actually feasible and work even better, you know? Like if she just killed herself and that he was like running away like out of guilt because he felt like he caused it, you know, that to me weirdly enough, even though the like might seem way more superficial, that to me like sounds way more of like a tremendous motivating factor other than like, oh, actual legal recourse that like prevents him from going home, you know?
So if it was like more of a redemption angle in a sense.
Yes, exactly. Which is funny because the whole thing is that like I thought that's what this movie was going for. This movie's trying to go for a redemption angle anyway because he still blames himself in some aspect, even though he's technically not responsible, you know? Because she was into like dream going just as much as he was, arguably even more so, you know?
Yeah, I hear you, and I feel like that's where it can get into sort of like dangerous territory because I do agree that his performance isn't compelling enough, so I kind of want to look for a way out at this point in the film. I thought he was really great in the first act, but I do feel it kind of begins to deteriorate a little bit here. Thankfully, when all the action kicks in the third act, you know, kind of saves it. It kind of saves his performance, but yes, I can see why, like, because I also sort of try and look for some justifications there as well, but it's tough, you know. It is a weird performance by him because it's not terrible by any means, but it's just like we've seen what he can do, you know.
Yeah, and especially because every other aspect of this movie is so well done, like it's so perfect. There's not an inch of this movie that doesn't look interesting, you know.
And for the most part, I love the supporting cast.
Yeah,
I think they're
really well casted.
Yeah. But what do you guys think about that?
You know what? I've heard some people talk about this, and again, I don't. And it's another thought I haven't really sat down to really think about yet. But I was talking about it with some film school guys. I consider there's like a group of actors where they're so famous, where I look at them and I go, yeah, I like them in movies, but I'm watching Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception. I'm not watching Cobb. I'm watching Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
For me, Tom Hanks in every movie that he's in except for like 3 movies.
Oh wow,
that's bold.
I put Tom Hanks in that area.
Wow. Some people have heard. I've heard Leo. I've heard because like, oh, you're not watching Amsterdam in Gangs of New York. You're watching Leo do a bad Irish accent. I mean,
Leo
but
is like 50-50 when it comes to that.
But he has
some
the screen
movies
presence
where he is legitimately acting and giving a great performance, but others that he's just like, yeah, that's just Leo, you know?
I've heard that with him, Tom Cruise, and I've also heard Natalie Portman. I haven't really thought about that enough to really have an opinion on that one. But
the thing about Natalie Portman is that Natalie Portman to be like, after a certain point, I'm going to target Black Swan for this. It's not that she wasn't acting, it's that she was only giving the same type of performance. Like, to me, as good as she is, Natalie Portman gives the same performance in Black Swan, Jackie, Vox Lux, and Lucy in the Sky. Like, that's all the same performance to me.
Right.
And Annihilation, too, for that matter.
Right. Gotcha. I haven't seen all of those movies. At least I think Jackie, she did a pretty good evocation of Miss Kennedy.
The evocation and the language and the enunciation is very good, but the actual performance itself, like, that's just it's Black Swan 2.0, you know.
Mm-hmm. Here comes the best line of the movie.
Yep. Mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling. Like, that's a line right out of a Bond movie.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, like my dream movie would be Christopher Nolan. Oh yeah, my dream movie. That's a good one. Christopher Nolan trilogy, James Bond, Tom Hardy, perhaps. I just thought about that.
I still go Fassbender. I know everyone loves Tom Hardy, but for me, after First Class, it's Fassbender.
Richard Madden. Richard
Madden's my own.
I haven't watched
choice.
Bodyguard yet, so I don't know if I buy him yet.
Oh, I love
John
Bodyguard.
Boyega.
He's still too young.
Yeah.
I think he needs a few more years of experience.
But back
John
in the 60s.
Boyega.
How does that take place back
Over
in the 60s?
Idris Elba as the first Black Bond?
I mean, yeah, that's like they're both. I was thinking about both of them. Yeah, I just feel like John Boyega. He's like, a little younger. I feel like he'd bring a little more to it. It's just me.
Yeah, but have it take place in the 60s. I think that would be awesome.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Like, have it actually be a period piece. I mean, I always think it was the biggest missed opportunity of the series was for Spectre to not go into the idea that there are multiple Bonds. That Bond is a a moniker, not the guy's actual name. I always thought that was a tremendous missed opportunity for the series.
Yeah, I've heard that theory before, but there have been a couple times where the other actors have referenced other actors' films.
Right.
You know, like
That's why
like
I
he
thought
was
that was
married,
the thing, you know?
but like he was married. Oh, but it was a long time ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and then
Like, it was
the
always like one
Daniel
of those
Craig
playful
one.
things that was in the background, but like, you know, one of those like confirmed but not confirmed things.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I think the only thing that kind of messes that up is the fact that like there are certain actors that go across, like Judi Dench is in the Pierce Brosnan and the Daniel Craig movies, you know?
Yeah, but I'd say that she plays two different M's.
Right.
Because she plays a little. There's a couple of lines here and there that kind of change her character a little bit.
And the fact that she was in like 8 Bond movies before she finally actually like got to give a performance that was actually really compelling in Skyfall.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan joined, man. Ryan said,
Yeah, what's up,
this is one
Ryan?
of his top 5 movies of all time. Nice.
This is number 7 on my favorites list.
Nice.
Transversing through the dreams, we're now in Dream 2, Dream Level 2, which is obviously the famous Joseph Gordon-Levitt acrobatics fight
Who's
sequence.
that actress?
Moving.
Tom
Don't.
Hardy.
Well, obviously the character is Tom Hardy doing yet another dream disguise, but I don't believe I recognize the actress.
It's
She
just
looks really familiar.
It's just really good makeup. And it's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
Tom Hardy.
And he like just sucked in his gut. Yeah.
This kiss that's about to come up, I don't know.
Very
That
awkward.
was weird.
Yeah. If there was
The
one,
lack
like we made fun of a lot of people who just cannot pull off romance in the modern day, and poster child for that is Nolan. Like every single romance in a Nolan movie just sticks out like a sore thumb and does not feel.
But
like,
they
natural.
don't even go back to it. It's like, why do it?
Yeah.
Like, why make her react the way she reacts to the kiss? I understand do it for the sake of cover, but why make her be like, oh, that was kind of like, you know what I mean? Like,
I like that edit, like with where they play around with the mirrors and it shows like that's how like Tom Hardy disguises himself. I like that.
That's an interesting observation. I've never thought about that before. Again, I haven't seen every Nolan movie, and I haven't seen like Prestige and Interstellar in a long time. But I mean, yeah, now that you say that, the romance in Interstellar is just
part of his movies. I think
bizarre.
the
Very
only
bizarre,
two
to say the
Nolan
least.
movies that I can think of where it wasn't like blatantly annoying because of how distracting and out of place it was Batman Begins and The Prestige. But even those two movies, the more that I think about the actual romantic angles, like, yeah, it still feels like just like two robots talking to each other, you know, like it's just like, I don't know if it's just because he's just uninterested in it or because like he just doesn't care about it. He feels like he has to just stick it in order to like apply to people because like most people are just like so used to seeing a romantic subplot in so many movies, you know?
yeah, and they're blockbusters, especially, right?
Yeah, especially that.
Because the thing about it is, if she doesn't react in this movie to the way she does to it, then it is actually a really clever way to try and subvert attention, you know?
Yeah.
Be a spy in a sense, which is kind of what they are. They're on a heist mission. But the fact that she's like, oh, that was kind of nice, and then like literally leading up to this, all it is him just info dumping shit into her and her kind of getting annoyed about it. Like, that's just so out of left field, dude. It's like when it's like the whole WWE meme, like out of nowhere, you know? Like RKO out of nowhere. It's like that's exactly what it is to me.
Absolutely. Oh boy. Beginning of an iconic scene right here.
Yep.
This hotel hallway fight scene.
Yeah, that's the one of the scenes that really stuck out with me.
Yeah. I will say though, this guy that's driving, Dilip Rao, that actor, that's the one guy that like kind of got done dirty in this movie because like he came up with the serum that allows him to pull off this heist, this Inception, and freaking like he's relegated to driving duty in the first level of the dream. Also, I like to point out that actor Dilip Rao has only been in one other big movie, that being Avatar.
Yeah.
He was in two of the biggest movies of the beginning of the decade and hasn't been in anything since.
And that's when Ellen Page knew that she was a lesbian.
Man,
No.
Like, I made out with one of the hottest guys. Like, yeah, I think I like girls.
Yeah, you know what? Nah, you're not doing anything for me. Robin, give me a break. I want Batman.
No, he wasn't Robin yet.
Where's Christian Bale?
Yeah. Yeah,
Jeez.
I just say that. Think that's the director. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean, these visuals, man.
that's an
These movies
interesting
that know how to
observation
use-
though about the
one of the
romance.
few big budget original movies. It's not like a superhero spectacle driven movie that actually knows how to use its effects, and every one of these like very well deserved. Every technical movie. It's funny because this is like the year where it's like Mad Max won all those Oscars. Where it's like, yeah, this is a big like difference obviously because Mad Max is a sequel, but not really. Is that like a big effects driven like original movie that I may not like that much as a movie, but absolutely deserves every technical win that it gets.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, it's tasteful. You know, it's not in your face. It complements. It's not like, for example, you know, I got Doctor Strange vibes in that first sequence when the whole city's being, you know, bent and twisted and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in Doctor Strange, it's just like, and oh man, I broke the Marvel rule. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that. I
That's
promise I
okay.
didn't mean to do that. But
I
it's
was
just
thinking it
so
too.
Yeah,
It's a good
it's
reference.
you know, it's annoying in Doctor Strange, but in this film, it's like, oh, this is the sandbox we're playing in. It's a completely different mindset that it puts me in. Well, me and Dom have opinions about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, especially Doctor Strange. Yeah, like that. But it's funny because that you bring that up, Chris, because the whole thing that everybody said, I think everybody here can agree with me on this, is that everyone said when those Doctor Strange trailers came out, it's like, man, those effects look like Inception, specifically with the building bending sequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Even my lack of filmography picked up on that, you know?
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the Wi-Fi password is in Doctor Strange?
God.
No.
Those jokes, like that's the thing. I'm usually not too picky about Marvel humor because that's one of the things that like a lot of people complain about. But I was the first person to say the humor in Doctor Strange is awful.
But the
Is
Wi-Fi,
it-
the Wi-Fi password.
Awful.
What's that?
What's the answer?
Shambhala.
Impressive that you actually know
Yeah.
that.
Don't know if I
really
get it.
impressed.
During
One-
Marvel trivia the other night, he was the only one to answer that correctly.
One.
But it's a reference to one of the Doctor Strange most popular Doctor Strange comic books.
Of course.
Joe, when do you do those?
I
Every
want to get
two-
in on them. I would blow everyone out of the water.
Oh,
Every
Tuesday?
2 weeks on a Wednesday evening.
Damn it, I work. Are you going to do them throughout the winter?
Yes, but I'll
Cool.
also be well, you know, if it keeps going well. But I'm also going to start doing like one hitters on weekends. I'm just not sure when that's going to look like.
You keep me posted because I got a seasonal job, but I've been dying to make one of those and just,
Yeah.
you know, expose my lack of film knowledge to the wider circle of our.
Luke is our current reigning champion, so
my ego is through
Really?
the roof.
Damn. Okay.
just call him Christopher
Dom
Nolan.
is quite the trivia
Yeah, I do.
expert
I
as
play
well.
trivia, and
So
I
you have to,
overbooked in one of my leagues for a solid like 2 months for the geek faction. So,
Well,
I like to see a 1v1 between Luke and Dom.
It depends on
well,
the
if I get any
topic.
Doctor Strange questions like that, I'm definitely gonna lose. But
Well, that was Marvel trivia. The next one is Star Wars trivia.
okay, well, let me know when you
Nice.
get like a director themed trivia. And I'll blow everyone out of the water because my two biggest strengths in my trivia league specifically are movie release dates and directors.
And Community.
That too, but that's TV. So I'm talking exclusively movies.
A notification, another hater on one of my videos.
Yes.
he goes zero. It just says all lower space, zero personality. So I'm replying with zero creativity and a hate comment.
Nice.
Roasted on a live
Suck it.
stream. Link him to
Suck
this.
it.
Link
Yeah.
him to like 157.26 of a live stream where you fucking roast him, dude. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing too. It's like, remember, like, I don't know if you guys saw on my Instagram, the Lion King, when that guy just went off. He was probably just some kid, right? Who was using his mom's account or something like that. Like, you will suffer. Like, when it gets that ridiculous, it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
I did have to block him
yeah,
because he was just
like,
he was like
13, you're like tough shit. This is what happens when you mess with the big boys.
or something like that. Yeah.
You will suffer. Wow.
You will
I don't
suffer.
think I've ever said that to another human. That's crazy.
That's not that's not even like an actual like line. That's a supervillain line. That's not something that real people say. You know,
Yeah.
that's literally a supervillain line.
You will suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
100%.
I think like the most disappointing thing about Doctor Strange is the fact that it's co-written by a former member of Spill.com, which is the most tragic thing about how unfunny that movie is.
they were
the
funny.
Beyonce joke.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that was
Drill
terrible.
my eyeballs out of my head when that happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus. I remember that joke being bad the first time Chris and I watched it, and it was so much worse the second time.
Dom, you remember like what happened that night?
Yes, very vividly, because it's one of the few times where we actually had to leave the theater in the middle of the movie. That only happened to me one other time, and that was 8th grade. Because when I watched that movie in theaters, the power went out like 5 minutes before the movie ended. So
Yeah, that's what happened, right? The power went out, right?
no, not the power for us. One of the employees was vaping and set off the fire alarm.
Oh yeah, an
Yeah.
employee was hitting his weed
Vaping.
vape in the
Set off
bathroom.
fire alarm. I remember because one of my friends was working at the theater, and I even texted her and was like, "Hey, what happened?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, somebody was vaping and set off the fire alarm." I'm like, "God damn it!"
Yeah, so we saw that movie.
Yeah, Chris, if
We
I
saw the
remember,
first
correctly,
half
that
of
was
that
our
movie twice in theaters.
that was our. Besides being our first movie that we saw together, that was our first diner hang before the movie.
Yeah, back when you could hang with people.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm hungry. Didn't get a McDonald's before The Shining.
Hey.
There you go.
American product. Why did I say that in Russian?
Well, I just
accent?
realized that if we ever like do a cartoon for like a script and we need like a somebody to like voice like a crazy like a Russian themed villain, you'd be perfect for it.
Name anything I can. There's a chance I can do an impression. of
Yeah,
it.
good
Like,
point.
That is good to know because we have
Accents,
ideas down the pipeline,
characters.
Luke. But with that being said, I kind of wanted to bring it back to Inception real quick. Does anyone
Oh,
feel?
we're still doing that. We're
We're
still
still
talking about this movie.
I kind of want to still do that. Although I am enjoying where this is going. You know, I'm always down for the free form nature. But does anyone else feel that Cillian Murphy's character kind of just after a point just goes along with it a little too easily? Like he just gets convinced a
but
little
at this point, I was willing to go along with it because of how they'd set that up. Because like even he's starting to like get confused overall by like the dream nature. And again, it does fold into the plot. And again, this is the thing that I like because I think this is one of the few times where Nolan pulls this off, which is incorporating everybody, no matter kind of what side they're on, into the overall story, you know, because that's the beauty of like these sci-fi premises of constantly flip-flopping overall ridiculous genres. And they can really play around and put the characters on whatever side they want, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean it's like it's not terrible. It's just I don't know. I just felt like after a while he was just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you convinced me now."
Yeah.
It didn't ever feel like there was a moment of real like trickery, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just from Leo's performance. I think that's kind of what
Maybe
I'm
it's
getting
just
out of
because
this
that
watch
section
along.
maybe was
you know?
kind of glazed over the section where they were like in the bar where Leo was like kind of convincing you. But like I think that's like the point of like
Yeah.
the levels of the dream is that they're supposed to be like, yeah, like each level of the dream you're supposed to get deeper and deeper into subconsciousness. So that the point of that is like we are able to like more easily convince them of this idea that we're trying to implant, you know, because the whole point of Inception, especially now that we're on this level, now that we're on the snow mountain, is that by the time we get down to the final level, it's that by that point, it'll be so easy to convince that this idea that we've implanted is actually his own idea, that it'll just seem natural. So, because the whole point of it too, is that when they do wake up and get back to the conscious world, they don't want their target to know that they were ever there in the first place, which clearly, obviously, like, didn't work, because it would have been one thing if they actually showed them like going on a series of heists that actually did work, and it didn't help that their first target was Sato, who that didn't work on. But
Two quick things here. One is that you just went really southern at one point. I don't know if you noticed, but you were like,
no, I didn't.
like the want to like whatever. But then the second piece is we're definitely getting to two great parts of this movie. One being the hallway scene, but two being the James Bond-esque battle and everything, or fight and stuff. So
High School Musical 3 did the rotating hallway first. So.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan, you hack.
You saw that, I was like,
Kenny Ortega's pissed.
Poser.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But yeah, like you were saying, like, could you imagine if you just told them, yeah, we did all this elaborate planning where we went into all these different subconsciouses and we did this whole like James Bond thing to get you to change your idea. What are you guys smoking? Okay, sure. Right. But yeah, but you guys do look very similar to the people I remember in my dream.
Yeah, right. It's like, I just saw you guys in my dream, and now I'm seeing you, and you guys just happen to be the same guys that I woke up next to on the plane.
Yeah.
How odd.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about him.
Coincidence.
You know, could be a little smarter.
Yeah.
so intense.
It's always moments like
Oh my
that
God.
with this movie that I'm like, ugh, that just hold us back. It's like, oh man, it's like just common sense stuff. It's like, and people thought this was like a perfect movie,
Dude, Luke's never gonna hang out with us again, man.
right? First
Yeah.
watch along and last watch along, all in one thing.
Did you ever do a Cars watch along and then?
You've been talking about that.
I actually don't hate that movie.
Me neither. I don't
That's
love
good.
it either, but I don't
That's
hate
like
it.
that one Pixar
That's
movie that
okay.
everybody shat on. Like, there's always like it's a majority of the Pixar movies that came out this past decade that everybody shits on. But that was one that I'm like, yeah, I never understood why people hated that movie.
Hey, Luke.
Yo,
What are your top 5 movies of all time? Because I know you said Inception's at like number 7. You said right?
favorite?
Yeah.
My favorite
Just
list.
curious.
Let me get my letterboxed.
Yes, Letterboxd.
Cars at 1.
number 1. Interesting.
Number 1.
Nice. Cool.
Second is Dunkirk. Third is Mad Max Fury Road.
Nice.
Another movie about cars. Fourth is
Yeah.
Interstellar. And fifth is Ford v Ferrari.
So what you need,
Bit of a
Christopher
motif.
Nolan needs to make a car movie, is what
Well,
you're saying.
there's cars in Tenet, so
Oh,
you
man.
know,
I can only
That could be
imagine
the
what
one
you
for
must have
you.
been thinking then when that car reverse flip scene in the Tenet trailer. Oh man,
that could surpass Cars.
it might.
Number 1.
Here's the really cool shit for me personally. Like, it's like, okay, if you're gonna do action, give me something that just doesn't make any sense.
On the side
know?
of like a snow-covered mountain.
Yeah. Because you can clearly see the moguls as they're going up and down. Like, that is not a smooth, like when they ski backwards, they're like,
Yeah.
notice, man, not to be the Shaun White of the group, but like I do snowboard, and just notice how, like, dude, movie magic. You gotta love it for this type
Yeah.
of shit, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Because it's
Amazing.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Dude.
you're
You're
like,
skiing
like,
backwards.
none of those guys actually know how to ski / snowboard.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the kind of action I need. Like,
Yeah. Dude, you got to
Like
come up
Scooby-Doo
here
action.
to Whistler.
You can tell they're in Europe too. 'Cause they're skiing, not snowboarding.
yeah, dude, I'd love to, man. Do you ride yourself, Brandon?
I did a lot more when I was younger, but when I got
Mhm.
as tall as I did, like I took a bit of a break, and then I went out to Cypress Mountain, where most of the 2010 Olympics, all that stuff was at, and then of course Whistler being the ski village. But I went out there, and I noticed that my center of gravity was completely different because I'm so tall. Like, I was like, holy crap, this is a lot harder than I remember it to be. So, but I can get down the mountain, no problem.
I haven't skied in years. I
Yeah,
think
me
the last
neither.
time I
Same.
skied when I was in high school.
Yeah, it's fun though. I enjoy it, but I'm not like
It
a
was fun.
huge expert to it.
I remember when I was a little kid, though, I almost slid off the side of a mountain, and I was really scared.
Mhm.
That was
I
not
used to be
fun.
good, and then
We got
I
older.
now I only go like once a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
our
haven't gone
tallest
skiing- I haven't gone
mountains.
skiing since I was in like early college. It's like I just like, to me, like sports in the cold is just like not fun for me.
Yeah, I'm at that age now where I'm like, oh, it's cold outside. Yeah, sorry, man, I'm not gonna come over and hang just because I don't want to drive in the cold to get to your house. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, you can come to me.
Joe, how old are you, man? If you don't mind, you don't have to answer on the podcast.
He has told us.
42,
No, he's like 30 something.
33.
Hey, I
33?
wasn't too
Okay.
far off.
So you get what I'm saying about the cold, then?
Oh,
Like, there
100%.
comes an age where you're like, oh, I used to love it, but I fucking hate you.
I always used to make fun of friends that were older about like not wanting to do certain things because it's too far, or because it's too cold, or whatever. Now I
Not
totally get
cold,
it.
You're like,
I totally get it. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, and you're out in Philly too, man. It's like we got
Yeah,
the
I
same temperature going on, kind of.
cold.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, everyone thinks of like hockey as like an ice, like obviously ice hockey, but I'm like, guys, let's just wait for the summer. Let's just get on our rollerblades and do it in the sun. Like, it's so much easier. Like, Jesus, but yeah. Yeah, it's doing the
Speaking
sun.
of which,
instead.
Brandon, you a fan of Letterkenny?
I don't watch the show, but I've seen quite a few episodes, and
I've seen quite a few episodes because my frat brothers up at school are obsessed with it, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't get the appeal of this.
Oh yeah, that's like typical like hockey bro speak.
Yeah,
Tarps off,
Is
bro.
this like
yeah.
a Canadian shit?
seems like it.
Yeah. Like, I know quite a few people who I don't associate with them, but they do speak like that. It's bizarre.
Right.
But
Yo, Brandon,
Like, you don't think of
Go
like
for it.
a show like that being or just like, like Canadian hockey lingo being like a thing, but it is.
oh, it totally is. Totally is. Chris, yeah?
Well, just while we're on the subject of Canada, before we get back to Inception, have you ever heard of a show called Kim's Convenience?
I'm not ringing a bell. No.
It's my favorite export of yours. Go and check it out. It is phenomenal. Yeah, it's a great sitcom, dude.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say our biggest import or export in terms of pop culture would probably be music. Like right now it'd be like Drake, The Weeknd, and Justin Bieber all come from Toronto. So Kim's Convenience.
It's good, man.
This is an awesome scene too. It's just so much fun.
You guys ever see Daredevil on Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
I wonder if there was some inspiration there. Like, how they have like in each of those seasons, there's like that one like tracking shot fight. But I think like for some reason, I always think to myself when I watch this, like, even though they're cutting and whatnot, it gives me that Daredevil fight scene type vibe.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you can't tell if like you remember you think of those scenes because of how iconic Daredevil was, or if like Daredevil was inspired by those scenes, but you only recognize him because of Daredevil,
Exactly.
Or the infamous avalanche.
Yeah, I find that whenever I talk with haters, I feel like if I talk in my hockey speak voice, they don't stand a chance. Like if I get my like trash
stereotypical Canadian accent, it's like
my trash talking,
they can't stand a chance.
Yeah, like yeah. What's up with your fucking body hair there, bud?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell him to kick rocks, man.
TikTok. Let's go there, bud.
Tell him to kick rocks, man.
Yeah, kick rocks, pound sand.
Yeah, I don't know any of those Canadian idioms.
Yeah.
But...
Oh man, the one song I'll send it to you guys. You got to look up "Out for a Rip." Oh, it's the funniest. Yeah, just out for a rip, are ya, bud? That is like the most Canadian thing.
English and American rednecks is when you get like the Canadian rednecks.
Yeah, the Canadian they are like they're all in Calgary.
Very much rednecks. Is
that where
they're all in Calgary?
Yeah, they're all in Calgary. Yeah, like Alberta is like the Texas of Canada.
Yes,
because every single person are like, oh yeah,
slow motion van fall.
Yeah, like my dad was in like the oil fields, like, yeah.
My dad's out there making a living, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I love how Dom's accent is like. I don't even know what it is, but it's good. I like it.
Most obnoxious and the
We're
most
number
obvious
one.
Because I'm awful with accents. Like every time I do an accent, everybody knows it's like, yeah, that's terrible.
You need to train an accent, man.
Oh God.
Yeah.
This reminds me of that sketch in Community where Troy and Abed are mimicking everyone that's walking past, and then it's like, there we go. It's just like, I'm not 40. I can hear you through the window, morons, and everyone's looking at them.
That is a good sketch.
That was great.
What's the Philly accent? Because I've heard that, like,
is there such a thing?
I've heard people say that there's a difference between Boston and New York. That's a big one, but then there's
but those are like the two most obnoxious and most overused in movies.
Yeah, there's like Boston, New York, but then there's like New Jersey and Philadelphia apparently have a little bit of a different one. I've heard. I don't know.
Jersey, I honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I can't tell the difference between Jersey and New York. I really can't.
Yeah,
it's it's just a lot of words that are like pronounced in lazy ways, like water's water.
And
like different things like that. So it's funny, like when I travel, I hear it a lot. Like, oh yeah, you're definitely from Philadelphia, and I'm like, what? Like I don't.
Well, the two biggest things. So my brother-in-law's from Cleveland, right? And I always hear like it's different. It's a big difference, like between like Midwestern, but it's not necessarily within like the actual pronunciations. It's mostly in like word choice they use. Like they refer to soda as pop, and they call it drawer like draw. Like that's just how they call it.
Pop's the same thing here too. Okay. We don't use soda.
I gotta say, I love how we're having this conversation as there are two people strangling each other in
midair in a hallway.
The accents.
This was like the trailer shot and like the go-to like most used shot from this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I be honest in saying that?
Show that like the action is like the weakest part of Christopher Nolan's movies, as visually like jaw-dropping and spellbinding as it is.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, maybe I gotta stop watching this movie because the more I watch it, the lower it just gets on my list.
You know,
And put this in
not to be that
perspective,
guy.
I was having all these thoughts like that everyone else is having after having watched this movie like 5 times, like the first time I watched it. So
Yeah, and I feel like that's like, and like I said in the beginning, how it's like kind of like the Nolan cult, where it's like if you say anything bad about his movies, it's like you hate him as a person,
Yeah.
or it's like, how dare you speak against the Messiah?
yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Which like I've even gone on like Nolan is top 5 favorite filmmakers to me, but like it doesn't mean his movies are perfect.
What does this have on Rotten Tomatoes? Let me take a look.
Probably super high. It's probably like
80
late
something.
high
your bets.
80s, low 90s, if I had to guess.
Because there's just like almost too much going on right now.
Yeah, it really is like
80.
a cult.
87. 87. Smart,
Yeah.
innovative, and thrilling. Inception is that rare summer blockbuster that succeeds viscerally
Really.
as well as intellectually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love Chappie, so maybe I'm just a hipster.
How does loving Chappie make you a hipster? I'd love to know that.
Yeah, Neil
dude.
Blomkamp went to my film school.
Did he really?
Yeah, he
That's
did.
cool.
Yeah, he's like the one big guy who went to Hollywood. But although
That's a good
one
one,
guy in the year younger than me got his film school project got accepted to Cannes, which I was like, oh shit. Obviously, me being a bit younger at the time, I was like, I wasn't that good, you know. My film didn't get into Cannes, but then again, I made a
Didn't you guys
romantic
get
comedy.
that email saying that like you could record a day in your life in order
Yeah.
to like, be in like
Yeah.
that documentary that Ridley Scott and that other guy were making?
Yeah,
I don't know why. I can't imagine if I recorded a clip of myself, it would be that interesting because it would just be like me working all day in a liquor store.
is that where you work?
Yeah.
Nice.
Trust me, it's not as interesting as it sounds. It's really
Get a
bad.
discount?
Would you? If you applied for a rewards program and bought a case of stuff, yes.
No, I mean like by working there, do you get a discount?
I can, but I choose not to because I don't want to like give myself any extra things that my dad could potentially use against me.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's the one
That
thing
got, that got deep.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
God.
the
like,
part
I'm
of my life that I don't like to talk about.
All
Few
right.
and far between as it is. Up here comes Marion Cotillard again to ruin things. She,
Yeah.
her little
She's like, "Hey, shitheads."
This movie is just ruin shit for people.
Bet you thought you saw the last of me.
Yeah. Reminds me of that Vine of that kid going, "Sup, fuckers."
Right.
This is a
One
lot of
thing I do have
violence.
to
Yo,
say is-
still somehow can't bring himself to shoot her.
At least we get a performance from her. Like I feel like most times that you have like the dream person, they're just kind of like there, then gone. At least you get like a performance from her. She's
Why
more
is it so
fleshed out.
windy
Than that.
outside?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that.
I don't know. I think it's
Oh.
a little less generic than most times it's done.
Have you seen her in Midnight in Paris?
I have not.
So it's a good movie. It's a good movie in general, but it's a good date movie.
Has
For
anyone
sure.
seen the movie that she won her Oscar for in 07, La Vie en Rose?
No.
Okay.
I know the song.
I guess it's
2
how,
a.m.
how
in
terrible the
Paris.
Oscars have become is that every time you hear an Oscar-winning movie, unless it's like a movie that like was already well received before it won Oscars, it's like people just know to like avoid it. Like any movie that like became famous solely because it won Oscars, people just like go out of their way to not watch. Like I'm sorry,
And it's,
I'm never gonna watch Out of Africa. Like I am never gonna watch that movie. I have no desire to watch it.
And it's a French movie too, isn't it?
Out of Africa, no. That's the
No,
one with
the-
Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman.
No,
Not
La Vie en
Robert
Rose.
Redford.
La Vie en Rose.
Olivia, yeah. Sorry, that
Yeah.
one is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's all good.
Or like The Artist, that movie that won in 2011. Like just because it won Best Picture over so many other movies that both were more well deserving and just better in 2011. Like I will never watch that movie.
Yeah, that's the whole argument where it's like, the Oscars, you know, they pick movies that nobody's seen, you know, and it's
Nobody
like,
cares about because
yeah,
they
no one
represent
cares about-
film, even though they have absolutely zero staying power.
yeah. But then that's when you get a film nerd going, well, that's because people don't like good cinema.
Yeah, but the problem to me is that like the whole point of the Oscars are supposed to like they're supposed to pick the film that will be the most relevant over time. And the problem is that's so changed because the problem is the actual film audience is so niche. It's such a small part of the film viewing base that to go by that argument is just such an outdated mindset to me.
Yeah. It's like, have you guys seen Shakespeare in Love?
Nobody has. And like that's another movie. Like I will never watch that movie.
Yeah, my ex brought me into that. I'm like, wow, Saving Private Ryan is just so much better. And it's not because I'm a dude, right? It's a war movie and it's a Shakespeare movie. It's like, whatever.
Nasty to go out of the way and say like, oh, because they're like you're a male female audience, therefore you wouldn't get this movie. To those people, I just want to be like, shut up.
Yeah, to them, I am a devil because I'm a cisgendered white heterosexual male.
Well, do you need to watch Shakespeare to enjoy? Is it like are they shoving that kind of like the language and the way they spoke down your throat in that film, or?
To be honest, I don't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember it. That's a bad sign.
I think so.
I was just curious. Yeah,
It's just a matter of like
not that it's on my watch list. Or
Green Book syndrome, where it's like none of these movies are bad movies, but it's just like it's movies just like nobody would watch, except for like old people. It's that movie that like playing is like where you watch it in the theater, you're surrounded by old people, and it's just like uncomfortable, and you're like, why am I watching this?
Like more recently, Talkin.
Yeah, perfect example right there.
Yep, because my grandparents are the only people I know who went and saw that.
Perfect example. Like Green Book, like literally the only people that I knew that watched Green Book and really enjoyed it were people ages 50 and up.
I guess I'm 50 and up.
Me too, look.
I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, I didn't.
You
hate
have an
that
old soul,
movie.
Luke. That's what I'm finding.
That's the thing that I want to say. Like, I didn't hate that movie at all. I didn't even think that it was a bad movie. And like the fact that movie got so slammed for all those criticisms of like, look, this is just a guy who's trying to tell stories about his dad. Like, yeah, it sucks that like, I'm sorry that you perceive this as being racist. It's really not, but okay. And then like, oh, because the movie wins Best Picture. And yeah, it obviously does not deserve to win Best Picture because there's like 40 other movies that year that like were better than it. But like,
well, I think that's all just subjective, though. The whole argument. But I guess it. All
right, things are really heating up. Now we're actually back in Inception. His bullet wound is catching up to him, catching up to Watanabe.
I think the grenades are white.
Action and
yeah, I do like that though. It feels very dreamy.
Yeah. And they went one level further in order to bring back Watanabe and Murphy.
Here's a question. What are you guys' favorite Hans Zimmer scores? Because I know a lot of people, like every time I look up like best film scores ever made or like best film soundtrack, I always see Inception at like 1, 2, or 3.
I'm gonna go out there on a limb. For me, it's Interstellar. That score that he does, I think because again, like everyone obviously makes fun of it for like having like the big echoey effect, but like Interstellar to me says so much with so little. That score.
Yeah, Interstellar couldn't be any more boring of a movie all around, in my opinion.
I get it, Chris. You hate that.
The score certainly echoes the subject matter. However, I haven't seen the movie, but I listen to the score quite often for Dunkirk. I think it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dunkirk. I'm not gonna lie. Dunkirk was to me the first Nolan movie where I'm like, yeah, I don't get the hype for it. I don't. It's beautiful looking, but the most impressive thing to me was that, oh wow, this is the first movie where he didn't use Wally Pfister for the cinematography. He used Hoyt van Hoytema instead. But that movie to me was like, I don't know, maybe just because like I'd gotten so used to like these like overly bombastic sci-fi premises that like by that point like him like bringing it back to reality and it's like, yeah, there's just nothing impressive to me. Because in that sense, like that's another movie where it's like, okay, you thought that I was letting the kind of the realistic semblances of Inception kind of ruin it for me. You want to talk about Dunkirk and how the realities of like how the timing of that movie, like with how it's paced out, makes no sense when you put it together, and just like certain character actions that just like made no sense to me.
I guess I gotta watch it now.
Joe, what's your favorite Hans Zimmer?
My not so glowing review for a movie gets Chris to want to watch it.
Favorite Hans Zimmer score?
Yeah, just curious.
I don't know. I'm sitting here trying to think about it. I do like the Inception score a lot, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that a little bit more.
It's between 3 for me. It's Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Yeah, Pirates is my favorite.
That's a good point. Pirates is good.
I keep forgetting that was him and not Klaus Badelt for that one.
Yeah, that one I still don't understand. Like I've seen some IMDb pages say like Klaus, and then some other ones like when they interview him and he's like, yeah, I did Pirates, but like he said that he did the first one, So I'm like, I don't understand. So whatever.
Yeah.
But
I think that he was starting to write it, but then he had to leave because he ended up doing something else, and then like Klaus Badell took over.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
My honorable mention would be Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. Him and Benjamin Wallfish for that. That's a great combo right there. Benjamin
Oh, Ron chiming in. Best score by the man. They call Zimmer is Lion King.
Or the one his Oscar. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
You know, how could I not say that his partnership with Junkie XL on Batman versus Superman was also a really good the music is one of the best parts of that movie, I would argue.
The only good part about that movie.
You can go. Boot him. Boot
or Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Dark Phoenix.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Phoenix.
Wonder Woman.
Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt is one that no one talks about.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point.
How to Train Your Dragon.
That was John Powell.
Oh. Is it?
Yes, that was John Powell.
Oh,
I have a
interesting.
sudden urge to watch those 3.
I just had an Inception moment then. Boom.
First two movies. Yeah, that first movie is great.
Do you guys think they kind of take away from the charm after a while with how much they repeat Inception
Yes.
throughout the film?
Yes.
Because like the first time they say it, I was like, "This is awesome. I'm locked in."
Absolutely.
You know what I mean, though? Like,
This is one of the few moments where like that honest trail line of them repeating the same line over and over in the movie, and then just like cutting together those annoying ass clips, just like the characters repeating the same line over and over and over again. Like that. This is Inception's like one of the few examples where I'm like, yeah, that annoys the shit out of me.
Inception.
Yeah.
Inception.
Look, it's okay if you hate us right now. Like, I totally,
Nah,
I get it, man.
I've had my fair share of encounters with people on the Instagram.
I'll Gladiator and Black Hawk Down. Black Hawk Down was a good score.
Good call with that one.
Bad movie, but good score is The Lone Ranger.
That was him too?
Yeah, that was him. Because it's the Pirates of the Caribbean team.
Right, yeah.
Right. He did Kung Fu Pandas. I don't remember
that makes a lot of
That's
sense.
a really good one.
Kung Fu Panda's awesome.
The Uguay Suite is just...
Oh, he did The Rock. That's right.
Oh, really? That's
He did The Rock.
That's awesome. Great movie.
And he did Backdraft too.
I didn't watch that.
That movie does not hold up. I don't care what your dad says, but it does not hold up.
I feel like Ron Howard is the epitome of like movies that are made for your dad.
Oh, is that
I feel
Ron
like
Howard?
that sums up Ron Howard's directorial career.
Oh, it was.
Like, you know, like overall.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I think that looking back at the only Ron Howard movies that I really like are How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Cinderella Man. How the Grinch Stole Christmas I still think is underrated.
Dude.
You know, I'll throw Rush in there too. Rush is actually really good.
Yeah, I like Rush.
Rush
I watched
is good.
Rush is like Ford versus Ferrari if it was actually, you know, good.
All I know is
Yeah, I went there.
loves
I don't like
Apollo.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Have you seen Beautiful Mind?
I like Beautiful
such
Mind
a great
lot,
movie.
but that movie, it's problematic to me. That
I'm really wondering what movies you like, Dom, because you've shit on like every goddamn movie that was mentioned tonight.
This is unbelievable.
I feel like the minute that I mentioned like Rush's Ford v Ferrari, but good was when I like lost credibility.
Well, it's just kind of funny because any movie that was up for awards are ones that you're actually not really a fan of, and I wonder what that says about you.
That's one of my favorite movies. No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood are two big awards movies. Those movies are both like my two favorite movies from that year. I think 2008 was really like the big year that it's like I really stopped liking awards movies. 2009 had a fair share of awards movies that I love. Like I love Up in the Air.
I mean, Dom, we don't have to pull back the curtain here if you don't want to, but you could if you want to tell the story about how we spent this past Oscars. That might paint the picture.
I just roasted the shit out of this entire ceremony. Which the funny thing about the Oscar ceremony is not the actual movies that were nominated. Like I, for the most part, enjoyed out of the 9 movies that were nominated for Best Picture this year, I only didn't enjoy 3 of them, but I was still in favor of like all the movies that got nominated. It was just the ceremony itself that I was bored by, and the fact that like the predictability of all the choices. You know, I had a much bigger problem with the acting nominations. I'm like, oh, of course Cynthia Erivo got nominated. Of course Charlize Theron and Margot Robbie got nominated. Even though, like, who watched Bombshell? You know, or who
I
was like
watched it.
watching
Yeah, I did.
Bombshell?
Why do you say of course?
Just because, like, it's just such the typical predictable, easy go-to awards choices, you know, because God forbid they actually go with something risky and interesting that they would never go for. Like, where was the love? Like, God forbid Elizabeth Moss for Her Smell or Lupita Nyong'o for Us get nominated, who are much more deserving than most of the people who got nominated for Best Actress last year.
I don't know. Parasite won.
And Charlize Theron. And yeah, Parasite won, which was great, you know, and
Yeah,
I'm
we were
really
hyped
happy
about
that won, but like that was like the kind of like the one saving grace of having to sit through that god awful boring ceremony. But yeah, my problem was mostly just with the ceremony itself, not with like the choice of movies.
They showed it at my cinema. They do that every year.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, that'd be cool to watch the Oscars at us.
I would like that. Yeah,
Like
that's
half the people are sleeping.
I'm gonna be honest, I can't imagine, Chris, how many people in our area would actually pay money to sit through a 3.5 hour or like a 4 hour long ceremony.
I was at a black tie event for it with the Philadelphia Film Society, and I was so drunk halfway through it. Like my buddy and I were just like,
How come people who are there don't even take it seriously because they just get drunk as it is. So,
well, but I do remember, and I love when Parasite won. Like all the old heads in the room were losing their minds. Like it was wonderful.
Were they upset about it?
They were upset about it. But I think it goes
17 to win.
No, I think it goes back to a lot of like the feedback up until or like leading up into the Oscars was that a lot of people hadn't seen Parasite because a lot of people don't like movies that have subtitles.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that was a challenge with a lot of those individuals too. I think like the reason that foreign films haven't picked up over in the US for so many years is because that generation never picked them up to watch them.
And I guess I think the other thing too is that that's what also killed me about this past award ceremony is the fact that like just so much was revealed about the behind the scenes of it, even more than has already been revealed. Just that like just the amount of like nitpicks and just shallow choices that go into choosing the movies that win. It just kind of made me kind of gave them even less legitimacy than they already had, you know? Like there was that one god awful article that came out where this one Oscar voter was being interrogated, like it was being like why Eddie Murphy, Jennifer Lopez, and Adam Sandler will like never get nominated. And she was like going through each choice. She was like basically just like being blatantly racist about some of the choices that she voted for and like why she wouldn't vote for some choices, you know? Like those.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, it kind of seems like, and I've only watched 2 of the Oscars, but the past 2 years since I've been really immersed into this, you know, like really like not just being in TV but being in movies and whatnot as well. It kind of seems like the Academy's out of touch from everything I hear about them, from other decisions they make.
They are,
but thankfully, it also seems like Parasite was well received by young people. I just did a watch along with Flix on his channel a few weeks ago. We watched Train to Busan, which is another, you know, full subtitles film. And then if you even want to take like the music side of it, like K-pop, which is there's a few English lines on certain songs, but some songs are in full Korean. And that's like those artists are on American radio right now. So it's kind of cool that like our generation we're just accepting, you know, because bro, South Korean cinema is next level in my opinion, based off what I've seen. And it's like, why won't you watch this just because you have to read? I mean, you got to read a newspaper. You know, you're getting your news that way sometimes.
Well,
like,
what's a
their
newspaper?
generation?
Look at how many people.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to say because like their generation still reads the paper, so why can't you read subtitles for a movie?
Look,
you know,
put it this way: our president can barely like write and spell. So I think that should tell you all that we need to know about.
Why is it called COVID-19?
Basic English comprehension, right there. So
point and case, Tom. Well done.
Just wait till your next president.
Oh,
God, rapping.
Yeah, when our next president comes in and then dies of like a dementia / Alzheimer's, not even a month into his term.
Joe Biden.
Exactly.
Oh, what?
I don't want to be sad right now. Let's not talk about American politics. Some of us have to live here. But no. So guys, we haven't really paid much attention to the film, but I think we're having a great conversation. But do you think that reflects on the movie, though? That we haven't... Okay.
No, I've seen it so many times.
I don't know. Maybe I think this is like the one reverse of like Jurassic World, where Jurassic World we were basically just roasting the shit out of that movie the whole time. But this movie we're like, we know it's great. Everything we've talked about, like everyone's already talked about, you know?
And it's a movie that, like you said, it's a movie that you really have to pay attention to. And by the fact that we're talking over it, it's like we're going to miss stuff it's no one's fault of their own. So it's like, all right, if we see
No,
something, we'll talk about it. Unlike
counterproductive to the whole idea of
Rogue
being a
One.
kind of counterproductive to this the whole idea of this being a watch along where we're watching to talk about the movie and then we're like, yeah, we're this movie's too detailed for us to actually pay attention to it. We're just talking over it, so we're just not going to talk about it.
Well, I've always imagined watch-alongs to be sort of the soundtrack to the movie. You know, it's really for the audience to like find the nice volume balance between us and the film in their house. But I guess I was just wondering because this movie is still great in my opinion, but it has certainly gone down a few notches in the belt. That's the only example I could go to right now. I'm still full from dinner, but like that. So kind of like watching it again and talking with you guys about it when we've actually spoken about the film, it's sort of taken a step back in like my whole landscape of it. So I was just curious, really, how you guys are feeling about it.
I'm not mad that we're talking over it, which says something. Because if we're watching, I don't know, a movie that I really, really love, let's just say we're doing Braveheart, for example. I'd be like, yo, guys, check this scene out because it does this, it does this, it does this. Right now, it's like, Inception's on in the background. And I think that's telling, for me at least. And that's probably my own personal taste.
Like it was definitely like a big difference like between this and Toy Story 3, where Toy Story 3, like I'm so enraptured by almost every single minute of just like how gut-wrenching and like how hard-hitting and emotional it is. But this movie, I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty. And like the visuals are great, but like I still like understand that it's a great movie. It's like it's not one that like warrants a big discussion about where you have to dissect every scene.
Yeah, because none of us are scientists. You know what I mean? It's like how much are we going to be talking about like dreams and subconscious and all that stuff? I don't think any of us are like majors in that stuff. Who's that?
To study that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't even know. I can't even think of one. It's like what? It's like you can't a consciousness major. Yeah. What you got to study
psychology,
in
study of dreams. Yeah, psychology probably. Wait, Brandon, which actor were you talking about?
This guy in the bed.
Cillian Murphy.
No, in the bed.
Oh, Pete Postlethwaite.
Pete Postlethwaite. Yeah.
Postlethwaite. It's very
right.
Postlethwaite.
Yeah. He's I just watched The Lost World for the first time. He's in that, right?
He's the best part about that movie.
Yeah, I just filmed and edited the Jurassic Park tier list today, right before I got up on here. So I just watched that, and he was in Usual Suspects, right? Is that him?
He was. Yes, he was. He was Kobayashi from Usual Suspects.
Yeah,
he was in The Town too.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
Good actor.
Yeah.
Again, pointing out the irony, the fact that this entire movie he's in his deathbed and. Freaking he only died a year after this movie came out.
Yeah. That is crazy.
R.I.P. Great actor. Gone 9 years now.
I remember when I was a little kid, I thought like they actually died for the movie. Like they just volunteered.
Right.
they're just old.
I'm just waiting for like some parody to come out. It's like, how funny would it be if, like they just jump off a building in order to like get back to like the one level of dream, and they're like, oh fuck, was this actually real life? And they actually died. I don't know. That would be fucking hysterical.
Dude, how would you explain Sean Bean to a little kid who?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's how Tom Cruise is gonna go. He's going to kill himself for a movie.
Yeah, Mission Impossible 12.
Doing his own stunts at 72, that might happen.
I thought Sylvester Stallone was going to die for the longest time,
Dude, Sylvester Stallone has gotten punch drunk for a movie. Do you know how insane that is?
Yeah.
That's like actually respect.
Yeah. Stallone's, oh man. If you think about it, Tom Cruise really is like a modern day Stallone.
Ron says, because it's Toy Story 3, Inception is cool and awesome, but man, Toy Story 3 just grabs you and never lets go.
It's true. But think about like, how many
so
stretches of that movie, like there were 6 of us on that watch long, and how many stretches of that movie there were just all 6 of us were just silent for that movie. Like how enrapturing that movie was. That's
dude,
an animated movie.
I almost want to make that a tradition here on the channel, just like watching that every year around its like birthday, because that was
man.
It's my top 10 favorite movies of all time, dude.
That movie's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Incredible.
1 and 2 are better.
Honestly, the more that I think about it, that might be my favorite.
I'll agree with you on that one, but it's apples and oranges to me. Yeah. Like they're all.
It really is.
I honestly I gave 5 out of 5 to all of them.
Yeah, they're all perfect movies. Like that to me is a perfect trilogy. Like to me, like the only 2 perfect trilogies, right? We give 5 out of 5 to each one of them are Lord of the Rings and Toy Story. Those are the only trilogies.
Dom, here's the real question: Is your arm tired yet from holding that mic?
He switched arms.
No, I've been switching arms back and forth. That's the key, dude.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, man.
It's like you're
It's so-
commentating a sporting event, like Terry Bradshaw. Man, you gotta switch those arms.
Oh man, yeah, man. Remember when Terry Bradshaw was in that terrible rom-com with Ed Helms and Owen Wilson, where they were like trying to find their real dad? Came out a few years ago. I don't remember what the name of it was. It was one of those like terrible Christmas rom-coms. It's like the choices for their dads were like Terry Bradshaw, Ving Rhames, Christopher Walken, and I think J.K. Simmons was the fourth guy. But
Dude, we got to do an episode on the Christmas rom-com
oh
and
man,
the origin of
so
it.
many bad movies, so many bad Christmas rom-coms.
That would be a good.
So there, I remember there was this one Christmas rom-com that came out while I was at Duchess, and this is the cast that was in it. So John Goodman, Diane Keaton, Ed Helms, Anthony Mackie. I remember early Jake Lacey. Crap, I forgot who else was in it. One of the siblings was a kleptomaniac. It was one little kid who was like cursing a lot. Damn it! Hold on, I gotta look up the rest of the cast. I'm cheating.
It's fine, because while you're doing that, I also want to in 3 years do a Cheaper by the Dozen 20th anniversary watch along.
Why?
Who's
All the 20th year anniversaries. Why?
that's on my radar, Dom. I had to let you know that in the public eye. Get stoked.
I'll be there.
Hell yeah.
Love the Coopers. That's what it's called. Love the Coopers. Olivia Wilde, Diane Keaton, John Goodman, Jake Lacey, Amanda Seyfried, Marissa Tomei. That's who I was forgetting about.
Amanda Seyfried. Isn't she
Yeah.
that Viner?
Alan
No.
Arkin,
That's different.
June
Amanda.
Squibb.
Never mind.
Yeah.
That's Mamma Mia, Amanda.
I remember
Is Terry
June Squibb,
Bradshaw NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I'm looking at my actual camera over here, but it's actually over here because I'm using my webcam for this. So like, I'm just so used for watch-alongs looking at my like actual camera, but for StreamYard, it doesn't allow my actual camera to hook up, so I got to use my webcam. So I'm looking over here, but I should be looking over here.
Look at you pretending to have multiple cameras like that. You
Yeah, humble brag.
right?
Weird flex, but okay.
I didn't know if that was still hip or not, and I didn't want to date myself. So
Oh, who are we kidding, Chris?
I don't know. I still dab, so
You only date yourself.
Yo.
I would date myself if I could. I'm fucking
I
awesome.
know.
I'm
you turn
hilarious.
yourself on.
I would.
Oh
I
god.
would laugh myself to death if I dated myself.
Oh, here we go, guys. It's spinning. It's spinning.
Oh,
We're
that's
back
not-
to the beginning.
It's not
The
the one yet.
infamous back to the beginning trope.
No, it's not quite the one yet. I know. I was alluding.
Yeah, I feel like some Nolan fan is gonna like rewatch this and like, you fuckers didn't even talk about how amazing it was all the time at every
that's
single
what I go
moment.
back to with our Jurassic World watch along, which is I'm just like, yeah, like anybody who watched that, like we basically admit it's like, yeah,
We
that's
tore that movie apart.
not a watch along. That's a roast fest,
Yeah, we didn't mean to. It was a great time. We tore that movie apart. And I will just say this. If someone does watch this along and hates on it, that just makes my day.
right? Because they
So
still
I just, yeah. So exactly. So let's
sat
go.
there with us for 3 hours and watched it with us.
That's the thing people don't, yeah, that's the thing people don't realize about hate. Like, you still supported the art, though.
straight
by
out of
watching
Compton,
it.
straight
you
out of
know?
Compton rules. Like for me, like the immortal rule will forever be like when they saw all those people buying the tapes and the CDs just to stomp on them and burn them. And it's like, man, it seems like a shame. And the Easy E's is like, yeah, but they still bought them.
And can I just say this, going back to the movie real quick? I kind of feel like they do themselves a disservice by leaving this open-ended because it's so obvious.
Yeah.
If they would have just put a definitive end on it, was it a dream or was it not? I think that would have done it. So, I mean, not that this movie doesn't have longevity and staying power, but I think because it clearly does.
Maybe for the wrong reason.
Maybe.
People still argue about it.
Yeah, to this day. And it's like, guys, who get it's almost kind of like more it's more annoying than the Sopranos ending. It's like, guys, who cares?
It's better not knowing.
Yeah.
It's like the
The
prestige.
Sopranos ending, like, I still understand because there is a very strong possibility that Tony did die. But like with this, it's like, guys, come on.
I just I just think you should just put an end to it. I think it would have a stronger legacy if they just defined it. Not that it doesn't. That's not what I'm saying. But you know what I mean? I'm in this weird love-hate with this film I'm coming to find tonight. And that's okay, I guess.
I've always, Chris, welcome to my world. Like, I've always had that relationship with this movie.
Yeah. And we don't want to do the Interstellar watch along unless you guys want it to be like
that
me
that
just,
one I don't need. That's
yeah.
one of those movies I want that to stay like in that perfect spot in my brain. I don't need to rewatch that and just have like my modern day brain just tear that movie apart.
Yeah.
I do feel like I need to give that movie another shot though, because
I mean, I'll
there was
rewatch
that
it
one
at some
section
point.
of the movie. I don't want to spoil it.
I still haven't seen it.
Okay, just
You haven't
Okay, we
seen
won't spoil it
Interstellar.
then.
when
Oh my
when there's
goodness.
a lot of these, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm just like, oh, yeah, I couldn't handle it. But then again, that was 6 years ago, so I've definitely aged and matured and gotten wiser since then. So maybe I'll understand it. Who
You know, I
knows?
thought I was pretty smart back in the day for not liking it, so I'm curious to see if I if that
Right.
changes. I do have to revisit it as well, I guess is where I'm coming from here. Great score, because this score to me says it's like evil triumphant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like there's some subtext there. It doesn't feel quite like a happy score to end the journey on, but it's also not like sad either. It's
Right.
ominous.
Like
I
this is
listen to
one of
this
those
once a
situations
day.
where it's literally ambiguous, just to like almost
Yeah.
kind of like as a last fu to the audience.
Christopher Nolan knew that he had a cult of fans by this point.
At this point, he's like, I just made The Dark Knight. I can do whatever the hell I want right here.
I used
I
to have
guess
that
so,
hair.
right? I used to have hair, yeah.
No, that like the kid's hair, like really, really long. Like that was
Oh.
me.
Sorry, got a little too deep there.
I have hair. Hey, look, there's bananas. There's dinosaurs on it. Oh my god! Does that mean that there's gonna be a banana?
Also,
dinosaur?
Something about this shot feels so Jumanji to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. You know what I'm
It's
saying though?
bananas.
What?
Like zooming in on like the board and
I
just
have
like
no idea what you're talking about.
Bum, bum, bum,
yeah,
bum.
no, trust me,
You know
man.
what the craziest part is that at the very least, I could see where they're coming from with the whole idea of it. Oh, it still is a dream, because like maybe they just never left like the subconscious of the subconscious of the subconscious of the subconscious, because like he realized that the real world he would never like get some sort of satisfaction. At the very least, he could like live out his fantasy of just being with his children in eternal bliss forever. You know, like I could see some argument there if I just for the sake of playing devil's advocate. So like I do like understand why he put the twist in there, and not just from like kind of an FU on Christopher Nolan kind of standpoint, you know. But at the same time, yeah, it didn't need to be a twist.
So I'm just gonna be honest and start the post-show discussion with saying I don't think I like this movie. And I think watching it tonight and sort of talking with you guys while watching it and sort of watching it again in preparation a few days ago just to sort of refresh myself on it, I appreciate the filmmaking. I certainly have no intentions of knocking the craft. I think all of the aspects of a great film are here, but for some reason I just don't understand why it's so coveted, and maybe I never will. But I kind of think I'm learning that I don't really like this movie as much as I thought I did, which is weird because I thought I liked it.
I think there are certain movies that are one-time watches, and they're kind of like they are what they are, and they lose something on rewatch. And I think that when Inception came out in 2010, it was such a dynamic movie and something that was different, and that is why it gained the popularity that it did, and it had the reputation it did. But I agree. I understand where you're coming from. With every time I rewatch it, it feels like it loses a little something for me. But I just go back to how much I enjoyed it when I first saw it. I don't think it's a timeless movie by any means, but I still think that for what it is, it was a solid storytelling.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I'm just being honest right now. And I was praising it throughout this at certain points, but now that it's all sort of set in and I've gotten to get your guys' opinions on it as well throughout it, I just can't say it resonates with me like it did coming into this, which I don't know.
If I can throw in my 2 cents real quick before I give my overall thoughts, is that this is the first movie, if I'm not mistaken, that Nolan wrote on his own without the help of his brother Jonathan. And I think that does make a big impact, because if you look, it's funny because like every big director kind of reaches this like one tipping point where they're like, you see a big shift. Like for me, I think with Tarantino, people see a big shift for him like after Jackie Brown, where Jackie Brown was like his last like, kind of like movie of like his subtle 90s movies. And then he like started to go like for like the more the genre based movies with Kill Bill. And like with Nolan, that really came, I think, with this movie, because even with Dark Knight, like that was a huge movie, but like he still had his brother helping him with that, and he was like still like just getting into like the comfort zone of directing these big blockbusters. And this is like the first movie that he had on his own, and it's definitely a big success at the time. But I'm gonna say that again, great visuals, like interesting premise, at the time, like again, like a big part that I talk about when it comes to like these big like things, whether it be movies or TV, is the zeitgeist and the pop culture at the time. You know, timing is everything. And I feel like this is just one of those things where like this just came out at the perfect time, you know, and I just can't help but feel like if this came out now, like it would not have nearly the impact that it did, mostly because we're so inundated with just so much effects driven stuff, you know. But at the same time, like, yeah, my thoughts on this have not changed. It's a well-made movie. It's a good, interesting, compelling movie, but it's not one of my favorites of all time. Not even close.
Yeah. Like it came out a year after Avatar, right? And like because I always like to try to think of movies in the scope and the timeline of when they came out, you know, like I'm a huge Bond fan, right? And that series has been going on for over 50 years, right? And it's been able to adopt with the times. So it's like you can see, it's like, okay, you can definitely see that this film was influenced by this and this film was influenced by that, you know? So, and yeah, that's an interesting question because like this came out before the first Avengers did.
Right.
So it's like, you know, after Endgame, they release Inception. Is it still going to be like that super talked about? You know what I mean? I think the premise is still unmatched in terms of like, you know, oh, there's in the dream world, in the dream world, in the dream world, in the dream world. And that whole thing, like, I can't really think of another movie with a premise like that that's come out in recent years. But yeah, Tenet. But then again, there you get into the argument where it's like, well, then, but yeah, I totally understand what you mean. But yeah, like in terms of my enjoyment for it, like I was watching at the beginning, and then I'm like, you know what? If we're doing a discussion about it, I'm gonna miss quite a few things. And so I kind of just was accepted that. But then also when I was watching it, I'm like, you know what? It's okay that I'm not, it's not like a Toy Story 3 where it's like, I'm just so drawn into it. But I do think that I want to give this movie another shot, you know, on my own without like discussion and really see how I feel. But the fact that we watched it right now and I wasn't tuning you guys out just to watch the movie and I was more engaged in the conversation, I think is a bit telling. So yeah. We'll see. I could watch this movie tonight or in a couple of days and go like, guys, like I missed it, but who knows? So yeah, I think it is telling that I was more engaged in the conversation than the movie.
And now in comes Luck to tell us you guys are all,
we're all crazy.
Yeah, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Because of COVID.
Why do you have these movie accounts? Obviously,
you hack.
How dare you guys regard yourselves as YouTube?
Done. We got a hater. We got a hater.
Frauds.
We got it.
But nah, Luke, man, tell us what it is about the magic of this film for you.
It's just very cool. And I like cool movies. They don't have to be the most auteur, most kino movies that for me to like them and enjoy them. Inception, I mean, now I should probably leave it rest for a few years since I've seen it 4 times in the span of like 3 months. And then I have to try and force myself not to see it in theaters when they release it on the 31st here. I really enjoy it, and maybe it's that Nolan aspect that Nolan was, and Interstellar was that thing that introduced me to cinema in a way. My little 12-year-old mind was absolutely blown.
Yeah.
I think that is a big part of it, because I still, as a musician, you know, I still listen to those artists that first intrigued me in making music in the first place, and I still idolize them like no other, you know? Like they're just imprinted in my brain as that special point in time. So I can see that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think of some of the movies that I watched as a kid that really got me into like just anticipating like the next big blockbuster. Like I think of like seeing like Shrek and Spider-Man and Harry Potter like in the theaters like when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And yeah, like those were movies to me where I'm like, wow, like this the experience of watching a movie. But yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean was the one that like just totally blew my socks off. And that's when I kind of realized that I wanted to do my career to go into the film industry. And it even still now today, after going through film school, that's still my favorite movie of all time. So I can understand where you're coming from, Luke, where it's like, you know, you see Interstellar and then your horizon is expanded and, you know, so, but I think that's why film is so awesome. It's because everyone has a different story. You know what I mean?
Shrek 2 and Transformers for me.
And
And
I have a
that
funny
says
story about
all.
Yeah, that's
I feel
the
like that says
Joe, what
all
about
that
you,
you
man?
need to hear about my movie tastes.
That really does. I love that so much. But no,
Shrek 2 better
Jody,
than Shrek
like,
1, but
what are those formative movies for you? And like, how are you feeling post our Inception watch along, man?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like thinking about the movies that were really formative for me, I'm struggling to really think about like what ones they would be. I remember watching. I have a brother that's significantly older than me, and when we would be when I would be over at his apartment or whatever, I remember watching movies with him like White Men Can't Jump and My Cousin Vinny and Sleepless in Seattle and like that whole like 90s vibe, right? And they stick with me just because they're all very different movies, but they're all kind of in the same vein of the cutesy comedy and all of that. But so I think back to those a lot just because they're like the ones I grew up watching, which is kind of funny that I grew up watching like My Cousin Vinny and stuff. But I think we've been through a few different changes in the type of films that are being pushed out there more. So we had like the big push for action films at the beginning of the 2000s, and we've seen a lot of great a lot of great action films that push boundaries. We got to 2010 and saw Inception really push things a little bit more. But then that also, when we see something like that, it becomes the new norm, and everyone tries to one up that or tries to do it a little bit better. And then suddenly we fell into superhero world, and that's kind of what we've been living in for the longest time. So I like Inception for what it did. I like Inception as a movie for why I liked it in 2010. I'm kind of with Luke. I think I've watched it too much recently that I'm like, all right. And I don't want to just watch a movie to pick it apart anymore. Because it's like you're looking for things then. So I'm a fan of it. I think it's a good movie. I think it helped propel Nolan into kind of that top or upper tier. And I think Leo, he's kind of one track in it, but he's still Leo's one track is everyone else's top. So it's an enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the chat, Dead Man's Chest over Curse of the Black Pearl. I said that my favorite film of all time is Curse of the Black Pearl like months ago, and every single time I've ever said it, that comment has followed me.
Well, I have a
that one
slightly
person
more,
too, so.
less controversial hot take, hopefully. Hang on.
Oh man,
that's true though.
Yeah,
it's the best X-Men
it's
movie.
the best X-Men movie. It really is. Like the more and more, like, as much as I love Days of Future Past, and Days of Future Past is great. Like, yeah, First Class is. When I think of like what X-Men should be as a movie, it's First Class. Like, no question.
Okay. Well, then I'm gonna hit you all with a really hot take.
Oh,
Gremlins
God.
2 over the first Gremlins.
Oh, come on. That's like not even a
I haven't seen any of them.
competition. Like,
First one's good.
first one's good,
The
but the
first
second
one is good.
The second one is almost like a completely different movie.
It's on my annual
It's almost
watch
like
list.
in a league of its own.
My annual watch list.
No. But all jokes aside, I kind of agree with a little bit of what everyone's saying here, because I do still see the appeal of Chris Nolan, and especially if I was of the generation that would have been directly influenced from him. I certainly would have, because I love the Dark Knight trilogy enough as a teenager. But if I had seen those movies as a little kid, I know I would have lost my shit. I would have been like, oh my God, I might not have been a musician. I might have really done the film thing first, then music second. Like, because those movies, I see a power in those films, and they are superhero movies. But is it, and this could be a whole nother podcast, but like, so Joe, you said something really interesting, and that's why I wanted to preface it with the Dark Knight trilogy. Did Chris Nolan almost destroy the landscape of action films by giving us such a badass superhero trilogy that it just put this, insatiable hunger in people's appetites to just consume superhero content so much that then Marvel came in and everything's been superhero? Because he set the bar so high at the gates, right?
Yes, to all of them.
So I might hate Chris Nolan then, actually, if you want to break it down. No, I'm just kidding. But
No, I think
I
think I disagree with that in a way. And the reason I say that is because the DC, this is a whole nother conversation, but the DC characters get
Here we go.
Get you into a grittier, you can get grittier and more realistic with the stories that DC has, and we haven't seen Marvel take that direction, right? Marvel's still kind of living in that like more fantastical world and everything. I think that what we saw Nolan do is take a character that's been done time and time again, whether that's going all the way back to, you know, 89 with Keaton, or, you know, Val Kilmer in Batman Forever, or George Clooney and unfortunately Batman and Robin. Like, we've seen these time and time again, these Batman retellings. What he did with Batman Begins is really ground everything and make it, I think, a little bit more mature. And that is something that I would argue we haven't seen from Marvel, and something that I would like to see, because I think that that's what really takes things to the next level.
But
I don't know that it destroyed action, so to speak, but I do think that it raised the bar on different levels.
Yeah, to bounce off that and to play devil's advocate though, like the whole like destroying action thing, like I think that's a bit of a stretch. Like I think action movies in and of themselves destroyed themselves by constantly being cliched and overwritten. But to bounce off that point, I think though why, Chris, you actually do have a point there is because yeah, the 2000s already kind of were like beginning to see the rebirth and like the superhero genre beginning to take seriously, obviously with the X-Men and the Spider-Man movies, but like Nolan proved that they could be taken seriously by adults, I guess. Because the thing about X-Men and Spider-Man is those were well received critically, but people still kind of looked at them as like only being exclusively kids movies. And with Nolan's Batman movies, those were like, oh no, superhero movies could be for adults. And that to me is what kind of led the way for the Marvel movies in order to really take over in the mainstream, because as kiddie as they are, the Marvel movies, at least for the first part, tried to ground themselves in reality. As fantastical as they got, even though they were much more lighthearted and less gritty and dark. That, to me, is where like the influence of Nolan's movies kind of really comes in and takes over and influences the superhero zeitgeist as to where it is now.
Damn, mic drop. Yeah, I agree with some of that. I do think that the Spider-Man films, had they not been as successful as they were, may not have, led certain decisions to be made to sort of keep superhero movies coming out. But I do also agree that those were a way more friendlier, kiddier tone. Whereas obviously we know with this Dark Knight trilogy, I mean, you know, Heath Ledger's Joker is just terrifying. So it's just kind of like
legendary. Yeah. No one, as good as Thanos was, Thanos could never hope to touch the Joker in terms of just movie villains.
Yeah. No, this was an interesting, I think. And sorry, Brando, go ahead, man.
No. You're going. I was going back to an older point, but keep going.
Oh, I was just gonna sort of kind of wrap this up, unless anyone else had something to say. So please take your last.
Oh, it's just one sentence. Like, if X-Men, the first X-Men movie, and the first Spider-Man movie, if both of them bomb, we have no MCU, we have no Dark Knight trilogy, we have nothing. The producers of Hollywood are saying superhero movies and comic book movies do not work. No one wants to see them. And I think people have to, regardless of what you think of the movies, I think people need to like hold those movies up to at least an appreciation and going, the reason why these worked is like those paved the way for these. Obviously look back on the first, like you look back on the first X-Men movie and you're like, oh, it's cheesy, yada, yada, yada. And people can talk about like all the cheesy dialogue of the first Spider-Man.
There's a pedophile, but you know, that's neither here or there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's whatever the case may be. You know, if those films bomb, we have no MCU, no Dark Knight trilogy, no DCEU, no X-Men franchise, no Spider-Man, nothing. So
better off without the DCU or majority of the X-Men movies, but still.
And you're forgetting like standalone franchises like Josh Trank's Incredible Fan Four Stick.
Oh God.
So
further plugs.
Never seen it.
Yeah.
You will soon.
Yeah. Are we allowed to be on? Are we allowed to be high when we're watching the thing?
Do whatever you want to do.
Hope so.
Rated E for explicit.
Oh man, if that's the case, boy.
All right. Well, not for kids. YouTube. Just so you know.
Add one thing to the superhero conversation?
Look, I'd be upset if you didn't.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yo, there we go. That's like next level of like superhero storytelling right there.
Yeah, I think that and the Dark Knight are the two tens of the genre.
That Dark Knight and Logan to me are the top three echelon.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it seems like we found another podcast subject for another day, which I'm
And
very
somehow
excited
still
about,
managed to
'cause-
relate our not superhero thing back to superhero movies. Because now that, because if there's
Yeah.
one thing we've proved as internet commentators, is that it is literally impossible for us to talk about anything on the internet without relating it back to superheroes in some way.
At
you know
least
what?
Christopher Nolan directed The Dark Knight, and
There is a connection.
that was on
There is
that
some
was on
connection.
Just
topic.
some sense of legitimacy.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a little less bad about always taking it there. So, you know,
At least
because
it's
I'm
not Star Wars.
Never feel bad about taking it there.
true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, so guys, this was a blast. I appreciate you all coming on and sort of hanging out with us. This was fun. We didn't really speak too much about Inception, but that's okay because, like
Feel
we
bad
said,
for anybody who tuned in and is actually wanting to actually hear a commentary about Inception, but
it's kind of a hard film to like we figured out to talk about while watching. There's a lot to take in, and we kind of said we had to say about it in the first 20 minutes. But what I will say is I love hanging out with you guys. We don't do it nearly enough, so I'm just glad that we got the chill. And Luke, man, it's a pleasure having you, dude. You're always welcome back. You know,
It's a
we'll have you
pleasure
on
being
for this
here.
whole. Yeah, for sure, man. We'll have you on for this whole "Did Chris Nolan destroy action movies" episode that seems like is now on the horizon. But with that being said, guys, you know the deal. We want everyone who's still with us to, and if you are still with us, thank you. We appreciate you being here. This is a very long one, longer than most of our watch-alongs. But so we want you guys to sort of plug and promote. So I'm just gonna go down the chain right now as it's presented to me, and so we'll start off with Luke, man. One last time, tell the people where they can find you, what they can expect from you in coming weeks.
Find me on Instagram, find me on YouTube, but not as often. Instagram, I've decided to review every Disney Animation Studios movie. I'm doing every MCU. I'm doing Pixar. I'm doing Bond, Mad Max. Lots of stuff. Many reviews. So follow Look Reviews on Instagram to get all those opinions, even if they are a day late, more often than not.
Hey, you know what? As long as they're good, that's all that matters. And like I said earlier in the episode, everyone's YouTube accounts and Instagram accounts are linked in the description below. So it's nice and easy for you guys. Now, Joe, we have a question for you here in the chat. When are we going to see the Fan Four Stick watch along? So, Joe.
That is a fantastic lead-in. So guys, guidethemovies.com, Guide the Movies on Instagram, the Guide the Movies podcast on anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, we're also doing some fun stuff coming up. So on August 6th, it's a Thursday night at 9 p.m. We'll be having the Fantastic Four watch along. I also haven't seen it, and I've been holding out just to be able to like live reaction, kind of like Brandon was talking about, giving your first live reaction to it. So looking forward to that. I think it would be a good conversation about, maybe a little bit here with superhero movies and kind of where they've gone and what needs to be done to maybe revitalize some of these concepts that have fallen by the wayside a little bit. But in addition to that, the next Quizzo is going to be on the 22nd, July 22nd. It is Star Wars, the Star Wars edition. And then in the future, we also have a Disney edition that will be coming on the weekends. And we will have a horror film edition. So they're a lot of fun, win some prizes, meet some new people. And yeah, just having a blast. Thanks guys for having me. It's always a lot of fun to chat opinions about our films and different movies. Dom is like spread out on that couch right now, looking like he's asking someone to paint him like one of his.
I'm assuming my best model stance. I'm just right here. Hey man, help that I'm on a very comfy.
Did
couch.
you say paint him like a French?
French girl.
Paint me like one of your French models.
I love
Watches
Notice
a
how I
Leo
used
movie.
models.
Yeah,
there,
Leo
Don.
movie.
Yeah,
Watches every
from another
Leo
very
movie.
popular Leo movie.
It tracks.
But yeah, no, Joe, man, you're always welcome here, and thank you again for coming on tonight. And
Appreciate it.
last but not least, our friendly neighborhood Canadian, Brando Critic, dude. Let everyone know where they can find you and what it is you do.
Yeah, so you guys can find me here on YouTube. That's where my main content is. My Instagram page is just it's an extension of the YouTube channel, which is basically just there to promote when a new video is up. So you can, on my YouTube channel, I normally do reviews. I've been taking a bit of a break from reviews. I've been doing more tier list ranking videos, and I've been doing more like live reactions to movies I've never seen before, just for something different to do, because I've been doing lots of reviews over this pandemic. But doing trailer reactions when they come out, and of course Blu-ray hunting videos. I was able to do one for the first time in a while. Some guy had all the new releases for like $10 a piece, so I got like Joker, Sonic the Hedgehog, The Way Back,
Nice.
Shazam for $10 each. Did the guy steal them and sell them to me for $10? Perhaps, but that's his problem. So, but yes, you guys can find me on YouTube and on Instagram.
Awesome. And congrats again on just breaking 2K followers on YouTube, man.
Yes, thanks guys. And I'll hopefully have you guys on my channel too. I've been thinking about it. It's not set in stone yet, but having just hangout Q&A live streams where we can have people ask questions, and then I don't know if you guys have ever played the rapid fire question thing where it's like an A or B and you got to answer as fast as you can, and that's the whole point of it.
I've never played one, but I've always wanted to play one.
They can get pretty crazy.
I feel like I'd be really good at it.
They're really good for drinking games, but of course we'll keep it we'll keep it PG-13 for YouTube. Depending on how late we go. So yeah.
That'd be fun. Just let us know, but no pressure. And with that being said, Dom, you know the deal. We have a lot going on as well, don't we?
People, we're tired. It's late. This thing is going on 3 hours. We're as long as Avengers Endgame. Yeah, there's another superhero plug for the algorithm.
Gradually been coming in through. That's amazing.
People, we hope you had a fun time with this not Inception watch along, I guess I should call it. That was Luck. That was Brando. That was Joe, my favorite non-community guy here. Man, I love having you guys here. Nah, guys, we're the Talkin TV podcast. We're happy to keep giving you guys content. We put up new episodes every Wednesday. We've also got content coming out on Mondays and Fridays. I've got another top 10 coming out next week on my favorite A24 movies. It's going to be an interesting list. I can't wait to see what your guys' thoughts are. Also, be sure to leave a like and a comment. Please let us know what you guys think of these videos, because trust me, that feedback is key for our survival overall, because that's how the real world works, people. It's a literal jungle out there. And but also just have fun too. Don't take life too seriously. And
if I may add, Dom, we have a lot of cool ideas coming down the pipeline as well. We feel like we've been pretty consistent with the podcast episodes, the watch-alongs, the top 10s, the favorite characters list, but we have aspirations. So stick with us, keep supporting us. We appreciate the support. We know there was other YouTubers in our communities doing watch-alongs tonight, and so we appreciate those of you who chose to spend your time here, spending it with us. That really does mean a lot, because we want to keep growing with everyone, and so we're very thankful. I think I can speak for both of us when I say for the community that we've grown, and for you guys coming on, and everyone who's watched and commented. And this isn't where the buck stops. Just because we have these things right now, we want to keep going. We have so many ideas. And with that being said, the watch-alongs are continuing. Friday, July 24th, we're happy to announce our Shaun of the Dead watch-along, an Edgar Wright classic, and that's going to be a real fun one. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the channel. But keep an eye out in future months for even newer ideas. Things we have
crazier watch-alongs too.
Yeah.
But
is that enough of a tired rant for you?
Guys, we're on social media platforms too. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Talkin TV. Overall, no G. Also follow me at Movie Nerd Reviews, or just my name, Dominic Rizzi, across all platforms. Chris, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the platforms. One handle, one name, Christian Ivanko. It's my first and last name. Don't wear it out, because I have to use it a lot. So I'd appreciate if you kept it intact. And with that being said, there is one way and only one way that we like to end this show. And if you don't know what we're talking about, well, Dom, let them know.
Watch more fucking movies, people. We out. Have a good night.